the school beauty's personal bodyguard. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51: A Murder Case Caused by Basketball, Part 2. What? Lin Yi? Coming? Where? Zhong Pinliang was also startled. He quickly raised his head and looked in the direction Zhang Neipao pointed. Sure enough, he saw Lin Yi walking in leisurely from the school gate in school uniform and carrying a school bag. Damn, this kid is quite leisurely. Zhang Neipao was very unhappy when he saw Lin Yi's leisurely look. He was almost beaten into concussion by this guy yesterday. Now there's a bump on his head and several band-aids on his face. He felt annoyed just thinking about it. Brother Liang, let's go over there, Gao Xiaofu said subconsciously. Go over there? What for? Can you beat him? Zhong Pinliang gave Gao Xiaofu an unhappy look. Do you think you are so good at fighting? Didn't you just use one move yesterday? Gao Xiaofu immediately reacted. Yesterday, the three of them were beaten to pulp by Lin Yi. Going over there now would just be embarrassing. He shrank his head and could only look at Lin Yi angrily. Zhong Pinliang and the other two were just getting irritated when they saw Zhu Ruiming stop Lin Yi and ask him to pick up the ball. They immediately became enthralled, their eyes fixed on Lin Yi. Good. Someone's taking care of Lin Yi for us. Gao Xiaofu let out a sigh of relief and watched the situation unfold. Zhu Ruiming was a ruthless man, especially with his gangster brother. If Lin Yi ran afoul of him, there wouldn't be any need for them to bother him. Zhu Ruiming would have him killed. Given Lin Yi's personality, he definitely wouldn't pick up the ball for him, Zhang Neipao said proudly. Zhu Ruiming is quite a fighter. We're in for some fun. Zhong Pinliang also watched with interest as Lin Yi and Zhu Ruiming clashed. If it turned out as Zhang Neipao had predicted, Zhu Ruiming would give Lin Yi a beating first. No way. When did Lin Yi become so weak? Gao Xiaofu's mouth dropped open when he saw Lin Yi go to pick up the ball. Was this the same Lin Yi from yesterday? That Lin Yi wasn't like this yesterday. Could it be that the one here today is his twin brother? This Lin Yi is making me so angry. Zhong Pinliang clenched his fists. He also knows how to judge people by their appearance. He is so obedient in front of Zhu Ruiming. What if he looks down on me? Zhong Pinliang. I will never coexist with him. Zhang Neipao and Gao Xiaofu were also furious. This was a provocation, a naked provocation. Are they worse than Zhu Ruiming and his friends? The three were getting angry when a dramatic scene happened. Lin Yi threw the basketball, and then the basketball hit Zhu Ruiming's hand, passed through his hand, and hit his face. Then, Zhu Ruiming fell to the ground with blood spurting from his nose. Damn it, is it true? Zhang Neipao opened his mouth wide. I just thought Lin Yi wasn't a good guy. How could you be so submissive? Zhong Pinliang sighed with relief as he spoke. Honestly, he'd been pissed off by Lin Yi's submission to Zhu Ruiming earlier. Seeing Zhu Ruiming defeated by Lin Yi, just like he had been the day before, he felt a wave of relief. He even felt worse now. Zhu Ruiming's in trouble this time. Damn, who told him to mess with that brat Lin Yi? He's a fucking lunatic. Thinking of Lin Yi's behavior on the rooftop yesterday, Gao Xiaofu suddenly felt a surge of gloating. It seems only Black Panther can handle this guy. We're no match for him. Zhong Pinliang had been a bit resentful yesterday, believing Lin Yi's victory over the three of them was due in part to a surprising move. But today, they realized just how terrifying Lin Yi really was. He was incredibly powerful, capable of knocking Zhu Ruiming unconscious with a basketball from such a distance. That's true, Zhang Neipao nodded in agreement. Looks like we should stay out of this guy's way. He's a violent freak. Lin Yi naturally didn't know the man he just hit was Zhu Ruiming, the second worst of the school's four most infamous young men. But even if he had, he wouldn't have shown mercy. The four most infamous young men? I'll make you the ultimate villain. Lin Yi arrived at the door of class 3-5 and knocked. Come in, the voice of the homeroom teacher, Teacher Liu, rang out from inside. It was Teacher Liu's math class. Teacher Liu, I have something going on at home. I'm late, Lin Yi said politely as he pushed open the door. Although he had already greeted the Dean of Academic Affairs, he didn't want to use that relationship to pressure Teacher Liu. After all, the county magistrate wasn't as powerful as the current one, and he would still be working under Teacher Liu. Teacher Liu had already received Director Wang's approval that morning, so he didn't say much. He simply nodded and said, "Okay, come in." Lin Yi walked into the classroom politely and returned to his seat. Chen Yushu stared at Lin Yi's brisk pace in astonishment, and said to Chu Mengyao beside her, "Sister Yao, why do I feel like he's not injured? He was shot on the leg, and he's walking so fast. Who knew about him?" Chu Mengyao glanced at Lin Yi, curled her lips, and said, "Maybe he's just enjoying his love life." For some reason, Chu Mengyao thought of the scene yesterday between Lin Yi and Song Lingshan in the hospital. "Oh, that little slut Song Lingshan, I thought she was so noble." Chen Yushu also thought of that scene yesterday and said with some indignation, even more indignant that her brother would actually like such a woman. Although, in Chen Yushu's opinion, Lin Yi was passable, and apart from those prejudiced views, he was still a handsome and capable man, but he was not as good as her brother. Therefore, she was very upset that Song Lingshan had fallen in love with Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally had no idea that the two young ladies in front of him were discussing him. He pulled out his math book, flipped to the page Teacher Liu was reviewing, and quietly began to listen. All classes had ended, and the daily lessons were just a review of what he had learned. Although Lin Yi had never been to school, he had self-taught himself through high school and college courses under the urging of Old Man Lin, so listening to Teacher Liu's lectures didn't seem difficult at all. Lin Yi wasn't a child prodigy, he just had a better memory than the average person. Plus, with the internet being so developed these days, all sorts of information and tutorials were readily available, so self-study wasn't a difficult task. Looking up at Zhong Pinliang, Guo Xiaofu, and Zhang Neipao, Lin Yi realized they weren't in the classroom. Could it be that they were too badly injured yesterday and didn't show up? Lin Yi didn't care about their lives at all. He let them be, whether they wanted to come or not. It was better if they didn't, as it would save him the annoyance. However, what Lin Yi didn't expect was that Zhong Pinliang, Guo Xiaofu, Zhang Neipao, and the others began to plot a plan to deal with him. Chapter 52 Black Panther Brother. When Lin Yi entered the classroom, the class was already mostly underway. The bell rang soon, and Teacher Liu assigned homework and left. Kang Xiaobo turned around, looked at Lin Yi, and said with a hint of complaint, "Boss, you scared me to death. I thought you weren't coming today." "What? Afraid those three guys from Zhong Pinliang might give you trouble? Aren't they here either?" Lin Yi laughed. Indeed, if Kang Xiaobo were alone, he would have been no match for Zhong Pinliang and the others, so his concern was understandable. Why didn't they come? They came this morning, and Zhang Neipao still had a band-aid on his face, Kang Xiaobo said, but for some reason, they came, took a look around, and then left. Did they leave because you weren't here? Oh? They came. This was a bit unexpected for Lin Yi, but whether they came or not, or whether they came and left, made no difference to him. Let them be, that's right. They're no match for you, boss, but I'm just worried they might find someone, Kang Xiaobo said with some concern. Find someone? What do you mean? Lin Yi wasn't quite sure what Kang Xiaobo meant. I can't win on my own, so I'm looking for help from society, Kang Xiaobo explained. Boss, be careful, they have connections with society. Lin Yi frowned. In his opinion, no matter how arrogant Zhong Pinliang was, he was still just a student, and his ways of dealing with people were limited to those in school. He hadn't expected Kang Xiaobo to imply that these people had connections with society, and that they needed help when they couldn't win. Of course there is. I heard that Zhu Ruming, one of the four great evil youngsters, has a brother who's a spirited young man, Kang Xiaobo said. Last time he got into a fight with a guy from the snack street next door, he called his brother over. Damn it. His brother was shirtless and incredibly tough, covered in bruises, and his minions were armed with steel pipes and knives. The snack street guy was already frightened and kneeling on the ground begging for mercy before the fight even started. Lin Yi frowned more and more as he listened. He hadn't expected these people to be so arrogant. It was a bit beyond his expectations. Was his punishment yesterday too lenient? Let's go to the break. We'll talk while we walk. Kang Xiaobo waited until most people had left before he stood up and said to Lin Yi. He and Lin Yi sat at the back of the class, so they had to wait until everyone else had left before standing up and leaving. What's the break exercise at our school? Lin Yi asked. Yesterday, Zhong Pinliang had called him to the restroom during break exercise, so he didn't participate. You weren't there yesterday? I didn't seem to see you yesterday. Kang Xiaobo thought for a moment and said, intermission exercises are a set of radio gymnastics created by the school. They're very simple and easy to learn. There's a physical education teacher leading the exercises in front. After leaving the classroom, Kang Xiaobo and Lin Yi quickly stood in their seats. Kang Xiaobo was tall, so he stood at the back. Lin Yi, who was also tall, stood beside him. Zhong Pinliang finally saw Brother Black Panther at the school gate. A bald, burly man jumped out of a white Nissan van, followed by two thugs of similar size. Young Master Zhong, the bald man, was Brother Black Panther. Zhong Pinliang nodded and said to his two subordinates, "Call him Brother Black Panther." Brother Black Panther, Go Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao greeted him hurriedly. "Young Master Zhong, where is that guy? I need to take care of him right now so I can get back to the place. If the boss finds out I'm helping you in a fight, I'll be screwed." The boss Black Panther was referring to was, of course, Zhong Pinliang's father. He knew the boss disliked Zhong Pinliang causing trouble, so he had been putting them off for a while. "He's inside, doing exercises," Zhong Pinliang said. Black Panther nodded, cigarette in hand, and headed back inside. As he reached the door, he was stopped by the old man guarding the gate. "Hey, what are you doing? This place is not your place, you can't just come in." Black Panther turned around with disdain, glared at the old man, and blew a cigarette in his face. "If you don't want to die, stay put." The old man glanced at Black Panther and shrank back. These gangsters were more than an old man could handle, so he pretended not to notice and let them in. The school was in the middle of exercises anyway, and the teachers would have chased them away if they saw him. The entire school was in the middle of the morning drill when 6 incongruous figures approached the playground from the entrance. 3 of them, Zhong Pinliang, Go Xiaofu, and Zhang Neipao, appeared somewhat normal. But the group behind them, Black Panther and the others, clearly weren't the good guys. Black Panther walked carefully across the playground, unconcerned with the glances he received. "Where are they?" Black Panther asked. "Right over there, it's our class." Lin Yi must be out for drill too, though he couldn't see clearly from a distance. Zhong Pinliang suspected Lin Yi would be there. "Boss, it's Zhong Pinliang and the others. They've brought some help." Because they were so obvious, Kang Xiaobo spotted them immediately. Even before Kang Xiaobo could speak, Lin Yi had already spotted Zhong Pinliang and the others. After all, their presence on the school playground at that moment was visible to nearly everyone in the school. Soon, Zhong Pinliang and Black Panther reached the front of class 35, and Zhong Pinliang spotted Lin Yi standing at the back of the group. Zhong Pinliang pointed at Lin Yi and said to Black Panther, "That's him, the one at the back of the line, in the school uniform." Black Panther nodded and quickly walked towards Lin Yi. From a distance, Lin Yi looked quite ordinary, tall and thin, not at all like someone who could fight. Black Panther was puzzled. Was such a man really worth taking action against? Aside from his good looks, Black Panther didn't see any merit in Lin Yi. He looked like a poor student, not a fighter at all. But since the young master had given the order, Black Panther prepared to end the fight as quickly as possible so he could return to the nightclub. "Are you Lin Yi?" Black Panther asked, approaching Lin Yi, cigarette between his teeth, squinting his eyes. "Yes," Lin Yi said calmly. "Do you know why I called you?" Black Panther asked with a stern look, seeing that Lin Yi was indeed quite impressive. "I don't know," Lin Yi frowned and said impatiently, "Don't block me. I'm doing exercises with a person in front of me. I can't see you if you're hanging around in front of me." Chapter 53. It was a sensational fight, Part 1. "Fuck. You're so damned cool." Black Panther, seeing Lin Yi dare to speak to him in such a tone, flew into rage and reached out to grab Lin Yi by the collar. Lin Yi suddenly reached out his left hand and grabbed Black Panther's right hand. Then, with his right hand, he pinched Black Panther's cheek and, with a flick of his hand, knocked the half-smoked cigarette from Black Panther's mouth back into his. "Ouch!" Black Panther howled as the cigarette butt fell into his throat, instantly burning it and forming a large blister. With a push and a tug of his left hand, Lin Yi shoved the now disturbed Black Panther aside. Black Panther opened his mouth wide and fanned himself with his hands, wheezing like a puppy sticking out its tongue to cool down. Zhu Ruiming lay in the school hospital for a long time, receiving massages and other treatments before finally waking up. After a band-aid was applied to his nose, he was helped out by his men, his HUD still buzzing. "Damn it, which class is that kid from?" Zhu Ruiming said angrily. "Find him. I'll beat him so hard that even his mother won't recognize him." "We don't know either." Zhu Ruiming's men didn't know which class Lin Yi was from. There were so many ordinary students like him in school uniforms that they wouldn't attract any attention. "Damn it, He's definitely from our school. Find him. After class, search every class. When you find him, beat him to death, Zhu Ruiming said fiercely. Don't worry, Brother Ming, several of his men responded quickly. Although they had been intimidated by Lin Yi's skills before, they were outnumbered now. How could they be afraid of him alone? When they left the school hospital, they found that the school was in the middle of the morning exercise. One of Zhu Ruiming's men spotted Zhong Pinliang, Black Panther, and the others entering through the door. He immediately pointed at them and said, Brother Ming, look, isn't that Zhong Pinliang's gang? Those following them don't look like students from our school. Oh, Zhu Ruiming looked up in the direction his subordinate had pointed. Sure enough, he saw Zhong Pinliang, Gao Xiaofu, and Zhang Neipao approaching with a haughty air, trailed by 3 burly men. Of the 3, Zhu Ruiming recognized the shirtless, tattooed man in the lead. He was the famous Black Panther. Zhu Ruiming's brother had been drinking with him and had taken Zhu Ruiming with him before, so Zhu Ruiming had a good impression of him. He said to his subordinate, that man is Black Panther. He's very well known in society and a renowned fighter. I wonder how Zhong Pinliang managed to get him here. Did someone offend him? One of Zhu Ruiming's subordinates speculated. I don't know. How could such a small matter alarm Black Panther? It must be something serious. Let's wait and see. Zhu Ruiming shook his head, unsure of Zhong Pinliang's intentions. With the intention of watching the fun unfold, Zhu Ruiming and his men sat on a bench on the campus, watching the situation unfold. He was also curious about who had caused Zhong Pinliang to mobilize such a large force. Suddenly, Zhu Ruiming remembered seeing Zhong Pinliang and his men beaten black and blue the previous night. He had asked Zhong Pinliang what had happened, but he wouldn't say. Could it be that someone had beaten them up, and today they were seeking revenge? The more Zhu Ruiming thought about it, the more plausible it seemed, and he couldn't help but laugh. Zhong Pinliang was getting worse and worse. He had actually been beaten up by the students at school, and now he had to rely on people from the public to deal with it. Even more ridiculous, he even claimed that they had just been playing around. Hey? Brother Ming, why does that guy look so familiar? One of Zhu Ruiming's men exclaimed, pointing in the direction of Brother Black Panther. Holy shit! Isn't that the guy who hit Brother Ming with a basketball earlier? Another of his men immediately recognized Lin Yi. Zhu Ruiming quickly took a closer look. Surprisingly, it was the guy who had hit him with a basketball that morning. Brother Ming, what should we do now? Zhu Ruiming's men immediately started to stir, ready to take credit. Hold on. This guy seems to have gotten in trouble with Zhong Pinliang. If that's the case, let Black Panther deal with him. Let's not rush in, Zhu Ruiming said calmly. Although his expression was calm, a turbulent storm was brewing within him. Zhong Pinliang might not be as skilled as he was, but his 2 men, Zhang Neipao and Gao Xiaofu, were no pushovers. The fact that they had suffered at the hands of Lin Yi and had even brought in his supporters proved that Lin Yi was truly formidable. He had previously thought being hit by the basketball was a fluke, but now it seemed otherwise. Lin Yi wasn't very skilled, and there was no way he could have alerted Black Panther. Therefore, Zhu Ruiming didn't rush into trouble with Lin Yi. With Black Panther on his side, he could let him deal with the guy first. However, what happened next left Zhu Ruiming and the others completely stunned. Before they could grasp what was happening, they saw Black Panther, clutching his mouth and howling as he leaped on the ground. Black Panther had never suffered such a loss before. He had actually been tricked by a student, and his lungs were instantly riled up. He ignored the pain in his throat, and with bloodshot eyes, he swung his fist at Lin Yi. Lin Yi could see that Black Panther was a man of immense strength, honed in his horizontal martial arts skills. Although Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him, let alone his fists, the old man had often hit himself with an iron rod without issue. But Lin Yi didn't want to show off too much at school. After all, being unscathed by such a punch wouldn't necessarily draw attention. So, with a quick dodge, Black Panther's punch missed. Then, with incredible speed, Lin Yi moved behind Black Panther and, aiming his foot, delivered a powerful kick to Black Panther's butt. Of course, this was the same kick Lin Yi had used against Zhong Pinliang before he enrolled. Lin Yi wanted to use such simple moves to defeat the man in front of him, so he acted more like a street thug fighting, without any rules at all. Lin Yi didn't want to expose his kung fu in public. After all, what old man Lin taught him was mainly based on assassination, so Lin Yi didn't want too many people to know his background, so he used brute force. Brother Black Panther was much heavier than Zhong Pinliang, But Lin Yi's kick could make a hole in a car, let alone Brother Black Panther. It's just that Lin Yi didn't want to make a charge of wounding and maiming in public. Teaching him a lesson was enough. He didn't want to let Brother Black Panther's pelvis explode here and make him unable to walk for the rest of his life. Without a doubt, Brother Black Panther screamed and fell face down on the concrete playground of the school, his head bleeding. Chapter 54. It was a sensational fight, Part 2. As Black Panther fell, Zhong Pinliang, Gao Xiaofu, Zhang Neipao, and Black Panther's 2 men were stunned. Even more stunned were Zhu Ruiming and his gang. Zhu Ruiming watched in disbelief. Black Panther had been taken down just like that? Others might not know Black Panther's strength, but Zhu Ruiming couldn't help but know it. Black Panther was a skilled fighter, even his own eldest brother couldn't stand up to him. Yet, such a formidable and ruthless character was easily taken down by Lin Yi, without even breaking a sweat. Fuck, that's even possible. One of Zhu Ruiming's men widened his eyes. This kid must have gotten lucky, right? So lucky, Zhu Ruiming shook his head. He wasn't stupid, on the contrary, he was quite intelligent. He didn't think Lin Yi had gotten lucky to defeat Black Panther. Who was Black Panther? He was a fighter for a living. He'd been on the battlefield for years. How could he be taken down by sheer luck? Then he might as well have given up on life. He would have died in an accident long ago. So, strength is strength. Zhu Ruiming now understood that the basketball he'd hit him with this morning was well worth it. This Black Panther brother was in far worse shape than him. Judging by his condition, he probably wouldn't be able to get up. As expected, while Lin Yi didn't intend to kill Black Panther brother, he wasn't going to let him off easily either. The kick didn't explode his pelvis, but it certainly fractured it, and he'd definitely be in the hospital for a month or so. Of course, Lin Yi was showing mercy, otherwise, Black Panther brother would have been crippled for life. Black Panther brother's 2 men hadn't expected Lin Yi to be so tough, knocking their big brother down right away. Their eyes were instantly red. They pressed towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was furious. Today was the first day of morning exercises, and he'd been planning to study hard, but these guys had messed things up. Kill him. Black Panther struggled for a few moments, finally unable to bear the excruciating pain in his lower body and unable to get up. He gritted his teeth, a fierce glint in his eyes. He hadn't suffered such a loss in years, and now, at the hands of a student, he couldn't tolerate it. It was a life or death situation today. If Lin Yi continued to act carefree, Black Panther would have no future. Black Panther's hysteria finally infuriated Lin Yi. He hadn't intended to do anything to Black Panther, but this guy was so ungrateful, he even threatened to kill him. Lin Yi frowned and stomped on Black Panther's cheek. There was a loud crack, and Black Panther screamed, his jaw dislodged. Lin Yi's action startled Black Panther's 2 men who were about to step forward. These men were Black Panther's new recruits, new to combat. Brother Black Panther had brought them here today to broaden their horizons and strengthen their courage. After all, beating a defenseless student was the only way these 2 could cultivate their passion for violence. But now, the opposite was happening. It was Brother Black Panther who was being beaten to the point of being unable to get up. This figure, a godlike figure in the eyes of his 2 men, was a figure of a god. Lin Yi's violence made the 2 men's legs weaken. It turns out that being in the underworld is not easy. The constant risk of being crippled is not as glamorous as imagined. Today, a student could beat Brother Black Panther to the point of being unable to get up. What if they faced an even more ruthless opponent tomorrow? The 2 men didn't dare to think about it. At this point, they were already thinking of retreating. Fearing that Lin Yi's anger would be directed at them, they involuntarily shrank back. Fuck you. No one will survive today. Brother Black Panther suddenly reached out with his right hand and pulled out a triangular knife from his pocket. This imitation triangular bayonet, while far inferior to the real thing in terms of sharpness and accuracy, is still very popular among some ordinary people. After all, with a triangular knife strapped to his person, ready to be pulled out at a critical moment, who would dare act rashly? Black Panther carried it with him just in case, but he never imagined it would be pulled out on this situation, and used against a student. Normally, Black Panther only used it to scare people, as wounds caused by a triangular knife are difficult to stop bleeding, and a single stab could be fatal. Black Panther wasn't stupid, he wouldn't have dared to use such a dangerous weapon unless he was desperate. Lin Yi's conflict had already attracted the attention of the school, and several physical education teachers discussed plans to rush over and expel Black Panther and his companions from the school. After all, assaulting students in broad daylight, right under the teachers' noses, was a complete disrespect for their own teachers. The tall and strong physical education teachers, in particular, were eager to take action. "What's going on?" Wang Zifan quickly arrived on the playground. Seeing the teachers buzzing with discussion, he quickly approached and asked, "Director Wang, it seems Zhong Pinliang from class 35 has brought some gang members to the school to cause trouble." The speaker was Zhang Xiaohu from the Pay department. He taught class 35, so he knew Zhong Pinliang. Zhang Xiaohu despised this second-generation rich kid who didn't study and spent his days fighting and causing trouble, but he felt helpless. Now, knowing he could expose him in front of Wang Zifan, he felt quite happy. "Zhong Pinliang," Wang Zifan frowned, looking up at the rioting crowd not far away. Just then, the situation changed. Black Panther was kicked to the ground by Lin Yi, his head slamming to the ground. Wang Zifan also saw who had kicked Black Panther, and his mouth twitched. Why was it this guy? Wang Zifan had originally thought Lin Yi was quite polite. Although he had been introduced by shareholder Chu Pengzhan, he didn't have the manners of a second-generation rich kid. Dressed in a clean school uniform, he gave off a sunny vibe. But now, the real person is hiding his true colors. Wang Zifan couldn't afford to offend this man, Lin Yi. Not to mention Chu Pengzhan behind him, even his own little secrets would be in big trouble if he let them out. "Those of you from the gym, go over and take a look. Don't hurt our students," Wang Zifan instructed the gym teachers, his words already hinting at his intention. "That is, you can touch any member of society, but you must protect our students." The gym teachers, of course, understood what Wang Zifan meant. Although Lin Yi currently had the upper hand, they also wanted to go over and continue to exploit this advantage. However, just as they were about to take a step, they saw a shocking scene. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, It Was a Sensational Fight, Part 2. Triangular Knives. "They're armed," Zhang Xiaohu exclaimed, pointing at Black Panther. Hearing Zhang Xiaohu's words, the other teachers all turned to Black Panther. That's right. Black Panther had suddenly acquired a gleaming silver triangular knife, pointed directly at Lin Yi's abdomen. "Don't go. Call the police." Wang Zifan immediately sensed something was amiss. This was no longer something the school could control. He hadn't expected Black Panther and his gang to dare pull out knives in school. If something catastrophic happened, it would be too much for him, the Dean of Studies, to handle. The principal might even be implicated. Lin Yi hadn't expected Black Panther to be so desperate. Instead of giving in, he pulled out a knife. "You little brat, aren't you arrogant? Are you? Damn it, look at what I have in my hand." You've never seen anything like it before. Although Black Panther was in pain, he felt a surge of joy. He relished the feeling of looking down on others. "It's just a broken knife." Lin Yi glanced at Black Panther and said calmly. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Black Panther's lungs were about to explode. "It's just a broken knife, isn't it? You think this triangular knife is a toy?" Black Panther was furious. Although he felt that a single thrust of his hand would kill Lin Yi, he preferred to see Lin Yi terrified. "You're right, it's a broken knife, but a broken knife can still kill you. Boy, die." A hint of cruelty and violence flashed in Black Panther's eyes. With a sudden thrust of his hand, all the teachers and students were stunned. They hadn't imagined someone would dare to attack in broad daylight with a knife. The 6 people were the most nervous at the moment. Chu Mengyao squeezed Chen Yushu's small hand, her palms soaked with sweat. The moment Black Panther pulled out the triangular knife, her heart suddenly trembled, as if she had lost her balance. She hadn't felt this way when Lin Yi stood up to face the robbers in the bank, but now the feeling was incredibly strong. She didn't want to admit it, but she couldn't help but pray that Lin Yi was okay. Chen Yushu was also a bit flustered. What was happening was completely beyond her imagination. She hadn't expected Zhong Pinliang to go so far as to send someone to kill Lin Yi. Zhong Pinliang probably hadn't expected Black Panther to pull out a knife in school. After all, he was just a student. He just wanted to teach Lin Yi a lesson, not kill him. Black Panther had killed Lin Yi in public, so he couldn't escape responsibility. Kang Xiaobo also looked at Lin Yi with concern, but facing the flashing triangular knife, although he wanted to say something, his legs were no longer under his control, and he couldn't move a step. Of course, the most worried person was Wang Zifan. He had never expected Zhong Pinliang's men to be so brazen as to use knives on campus. Ah! Black Panther screamed heartbreakingly. The fingers on his right hand were gone, leaving only half of his bloody palm. However, the moment Black Panther lunged forward, Lin Yi swiftly stamped on Black Panther's hand. Instantly, Black Panther's hand, along with the triangular blade he held, was entangled and instantly deformed. However, this all happened in a flash of lightning. Black Panther didn't even notice. He simply felt as if his hand was no longer his own. What? I can't control myself. This wasn't the end yet. Lin Yi decided to go all out, stomping hard on Black Panther's other hand and legs. The crisp sound of bones breaking, accompanied by Black Panther's fading howls, sent a shiver down the spines of everyone present. Zhong Pinliang, already paralyzed by fear, hid behind a nearby basketball hoop with Gao Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao, not daring to approach. Zhu Ruiming's current state of mind was indescribable. The moment Black Panther pulled out the triangular blade, his heart was filled with excitement and a touch of panic. Although his brother was also a gangster, he had never handled a real weapon. Brother Ming, he has a triangular knife. Zhu Ruiming's men gaped in surprise, pointing in the direction of Black Panther. I have eyes, I can see for myself. Zhu Ruiming held his breath and glared at his men. At this crucial moment, he didn't want to be disturbed. Zhu Ruiming felt as if he were in a blockbuster movie. He didn't have the unease that Zhong Pinliang felt. Whether Lin Yi was killed or not, he could just watch the excitement from the sidelines. However, Zhu Ruiming didn't see the imagined Lin Yi lying in a pool of blood. Instead, he saw Black Panther, with only half a hand left, howling like a madman. Holy crap! Is that true? Brother Ming, it looks like Black Panther stabbed himself. Zhu Ruiming's men's eyes widened. Don't mess with that brat anymore. Watching Lin Yi stomping on Black Panther, Zhu Ruiming shuddered. That kid is a lunatic. Zhu Ruiming hated to say this in front of his men, but he had to. He was afraid his men would provoke this naturally violent maniac, bringing him even greater trouble. Zhu Ruiming was self-aware. He knew that even Black Panther was no match for him, and if he went up, he would only be able to fill his gaps. However, to mask his embarrassment, Zhu Ruiming added, "This kid is just a lunatic." This way, he implied that Lin Yi was a lunatic, and ordinary people naturally couldn't compete with a lunatic, so his face was saved. In fact, Zhu Ruiming didn't need to explain at all. His men were already terrified. They didn't have the guts to provoke someone who could beat a gangster like Black Panther into a screaming mess. Humph, this guy, all he knows is to show off. Chu Mengyao breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Lin Yi was fine, but her face was cold with a hint of indignation. She had wanted to say show off, but she felt that the word was not polite, so the words came out as show off. I told you this Wrigley guy is awesome. Chen Yushu also breathed a sigh of relief, her usual smile returning to her face as she spoke to Chu Mengyao with a grin. However, the most excited person was Kang Xiaobo. He watched Lin Yi trample on Black Panther, feeling incredibly refreshed. He also wanted to join Lin Yi in trampling a few times. Looking up at the school leaders not far away, Kang Xiaobo gritted his teeth, rushed over, and kicked Black Panther in the crotch. I'll let you at my boss. Chapter 56. He was defending himself. Ouch! Black Panther's eyes bulged outward. Kang Xiaobo, still unsatisfied, kicked him again, this time sending him into coma. Lin Yi shook his head at Kang Xiaobo. This was a vulnerable part of the body, repeated blows could easily prove fatal. While Lin Yi appeared brutal, the areas he struck Black Panther weren't particularly fatal. Lin Yi didn't want his new school acquaintance turned up in jail for murder, so he stopped him. Stop. He won't be able to hold on any longer. Kang Xiaobo, finally coming out of his excitement, stared in disbelief at the now unconscious Black Panther he'd kicked. Kang Xiaobo had always been a coward, having barely fought from elementary school to high school. But deep down, he longed for a good fight. After all, for a man, not having fought was a shame, but today, he did. The excitement and frenzy he just felt made it difficult for him to contain himself. A shrill blare of police sirens blared as several police cars, lights flashing and sirens blaring, drove into First High School. Song Lingshan was deeply troubled. How could so much have happened in Songshan while Captain Yang was away? First, a bank robbery, then a gangster rioting at knife point. After receiving the report, Song Lingshan didn't dare to neglect it. This was a serious criminal case. Upon entering the campus, Song Lingshan ordered her heavily armed men to stand in formation and quickly rush to the scene. Listen up, everyone out front. You're surrounded. Please lower your weapons immediately and we'll see how lenient you are, the shouting officer, at Song Lingshan's instruction, began. Lin Yi frowned, wondering, why are the police here? Who called the police? Lin Yi didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Subconsciously, he didn't want to see Song Xiaonu again. After yesterday's embarrassing incident, anyone would be too embarrassed to see her again. Lin Yi looked up with some resignation, only to see Song Lingshan anxiously gazing at him. He sighed and smiled at her. Since he couldn't avoid it, he might as well be honest. Seeing Lin Yi here, Song Lingshan was startled, her face flushing for no apparent reason, and her expression darkened. She hadn't expected Lin Yi to be the one causing the trouble. Looking at the man lying on the ground at his feet, seemingly unsure of his life, and the fearful stares of the people nearby, she instinctively assumed Lin Yi was the ringleader. Hold still. Put your hands up. Song Lingshan pulled out her service pistol and pointed it at Lin Yi. Seeing Song Lingshan pointing a gun at him, Lin Yi was startled. Was this girl trying to take revenge? After a moment's hesitation, he finally raised his hands. While at this distance, Lin Yi was confident he could dodge Song Lingshan's gun and subdue her. There were also a group of armed police officers nearby. It would be a disaster if they misunderstood him as attempting to attack them. Take them all away. Song Lingshan pointed at Lin Yi and the others and ordered her men. Officer, Lin Yi acted in self-defense. These are the troublemakers. Kang Xiaobo, seeing the police were actually about to take Lin Yi away, immediately became anxious. He didn't fear the glaring guns and wanted to run forward to explain. Song Lingshan hadn't expected anyone to excuse Lin Yi in such a situation. But the word self-defense reminded her of yesterday's incident. Language is profound, two completely different words with the same pronunciation. Song Lingshan's expression hardened again. We'll investigate the true situation. Take them away. Lin Yi smiled gratefully at Kang Xiaobo and whispered, that woman has a grudge against me and is trying to mess with me. It's okay. Kang Xiaobo was stunned. He had never imagined Lin Yi had a grudge against Song Lingshan. Just as he was about to say something, Song Lingshan approached, her beautiful eyes wide and glaring with anger. It was clear she had heard what Lin Yi had just said. Song Lingshan hated people abusing their power for personal gain. So, hearing Lin Yi say she was using her position to get him into trouble, Song Lingshan was furious. If she had wanted to get him into trouble, would she have let him go yesterday? A surge of rage washed over her, and she was a bit overwhelmed. She grabbed Lin Yi's shoulders and said coldly, what are you mumbling about? Are you trying to collude with me? If you have anything to say, talk to me when we get to the police station. Lin Yi curled his lips at Kang Xiaobo, implying, see, just like I said, this girl is clearly after me. Song Lingshan wanted to kick Lin Yi, but she restrained herself. She didn't want to be punished or even lose her job because of Lin Yi. At that moment, Wang Zifeng arrived, sweating profusely, along with the school's principal, Ding Bingguang. Ding Bingguang was in his office, leisurely planning the school's bright future. This year, the board of directors had allocated a large amount of construction funds to the school. Ding Bingguang planned to use the funds to upgrade the school's facilities so it could be considered for a national model high school. He was highly capable, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to hold the position of principal at a public-private partnership like this. The board prioritized competence over everything else. If the school didn't thrive, he'd be out of office. Therefore, the rapid growth of No. 1 middle school in recent years was largely due to Ding Bingguang's contributions. A sharp explosion echoed through the window, and Ding Bingguang couldn't help but frown. Haven't I told you so many times? No firecrackers allowed in school, Ding Bingguang sighed. These wealthy second-generation students in the school had always been a source of worry for him. It was fine if they didn't study all day, but he was thankful if they behaved well and didn't disturb others. However, a while ago, during the Lunar New Year holiday, a student set off firecrackers in the school, infuriating Ding Bingguang. He vowed to expel these unruly students who disregarded school rules. However, after investigating, Ding Bingguang became somewhat discouraged. The person who took the lead in setting off firecrackers turned out to be Zhong Pinliang from class 3-5 of senior high school, and the one who instigated him to do so was Chen Yushu from the same class. If Zhong Pinliang's background was not enough to shake Ding Binggong's determination, then Ding Binggong really didn't dare to do anything to Chen Yushu, the eldest daughter. Ding Binggong was puzzled. Looking at such a beautiful and clean girl, how could she instigate others to do such a thing? After investigating, the reason was actually very simple. Chen Yushu really didn't have any bad intentions. Chapter 57 Chen Yushu's Glorious History. She was just bored, so she told Zhong Pinliang that Chu Mengyao wanted to hear the noise of firecrackers. So Zhong Pinliang took Zhao Fuanzang Neipao to the fireworks market, and half an hour later, he and several migrant workers returned to the school with a massive firecracker that exploded with 5 million bangs. The originally quiet playground erupted like thunder, with the bangs banging non-stop. Classes at school were impossible, and the students couldn't hear what the teachers were saying. They gathered around the windows, watching Zhong Pinliang and the others standing not far from the firecrackers, grinning smugly. Those were 5 million bangs. The firecrackers had been going off all morning, and the teachers didn't dare get close because the massive firecrackers were so powerful. Ding Binggong was desperate and had to ask the fire department for help. The fire department drove a fire truck and used a high-pressure water cannon to extinguish the banging firecrackers, finally putting an end to the farce. The negative impact of this incident was not that great. After all, no damage was caused to the school, and no students were injured. Therefore, it was quickly covered up by Ding Binggong and was not noticed by the board of directors. But, you can't do it again and again, right? Ding Binggong was really annoyed this time. He stood up, walked to the window, opened the blinds, looked at the playground, and immediately saw a scene that shocked him. It was not easy to find out what was going on in the huge playground. However, at this moment, no one was doing the school exercises, and the students were scattered in a circle. In the center of the circle, Ding Binggong saw several burly socialites, Zhong Pinliang and others, and a student in school uniform. Ding Binggong's eyelids twitched, and he almost fell down from the upstairs without holding on to the windowsill. That was not the sound of firecrackers. It was the sound of a gunshot. Seeing what was in Brother Black Panther's hand, Ding Binggong's heart almost jumped out. After a closer look confirmed that the injured weren't students, Ding Binggong breathed a sigh of relief. Without giving it any further thought, he grabbed his phone and quickly ran out of the office. If this incident, involving a gang of thugs armed with guns and causing trouble at school, got out of hand, he certainly wouldn't be responsible. Forget applying for a model high school, even he, Ding Binggong, would be fired. Fortunately, there appeared to be no casualties, which gave Ding Binggong some peace of mind. As he walked downstairs, he was met by Wang Xifan, who rushed up quickly. "Principal, something's wrong. Something's happened, I've seen it." "What's the situation?" Ding Binggong waved his hand, hushing Wang Xifan's ramblings and demanding an explanation. It seems Zhong Pinliang recruited gang members to cause trouble for a student named Lin Yi, but Lin Yi managed to defeat them. "He's alright, though," Wang Xifan explained succinctly. Lin Yi, the name sounded familiar to Ding Binggong. "It's the student that Director Chu introduced," Wang Xifan reminded him. "Ah, it's him," Ding Binggong was startled, thinking, thankfully, Lin Yi is alright, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. After hearing Wang Xifan's explanation, Ding Binggong's anxiety subsided. He thought, a scoundrel deserves to be beaten to death. As long as the student is alright. That's all that matters. The two hurried to the playground, only to see Song Lingshan escorting Lin Yi to a police car. As someone of Ding Binggong's stature, he naturally knew Song Lingshan. He hurried forward, smiling. "Captain Song, why are you taking my student away?" Ding Binggong wasn't afraid of Song Lingshan, but if Lin Yi were taken away, the impact on the school would be significant, hence his smile. Especially since Lin Yi was introduced by Chu Pengzhan, Ding Binggong had to be extra cautious. "Principal Ding, he's suspected of involvement in a violent brawl. We're taking him back to assist in the investigation," Song Lingshan said coldly. Seeing Song Lingshan's disrespect, Ding Binggong's expression darkened. "Captain Song, I'm very familiar with your Captain Yang. How about I give him a call?" "Sure, but Captain Yang's on a plane right now, so he probably won't be able to take your call." Song Lingshan pushed Lin Yi into the police car, and the whole team sped off. Ding Binggong was furious. He was a man of status and position in Songshan. Not only Song Lingshan, but he'd also met many high-ranking officials. Who didn't have a child in school? especially his own number 1 middle school, a private high school not under the city's management but directly under the board of directors. Therefore, people of all ranks came to Ding Bingguan for favors. He had never expected Song Lingshan to be so disrespectful. Ding Bingguan called Yang Huaijin directly, but all he heard was a cold, offline tone. It seemed Song Lingshan hadn't lied to him. Yang Huaijin would only turn off his phone when absolutely necessary, otherwise, his phone was always available 24 hours a day. Yang Huaijin boarded a flight back to Songshan early in the morning. He'd been invited by a friend in the police force to help solve a case. However, just one day into his trip, a major bank robbery occurred in Songshan, forcing him to book another flight for the next morning and rush back. Also aboard the police car were 2 of Black Panther's men. Zhong Pinliang and the others naturally escaped, while Black Panther was rushed straight to the hospital. Lin Yi, you're quite capable, aren't you? You were just shot yesterday, and today you're involved in a gang fight. Song Lingshan was irritated by Lin Yi's nonchalant expression. Most people would be crestfallen when being taken into a police car, but this Lin Yi, with his nonchalant expression, looked away. Lin Yi rolled his eyes, glanced at Song Lingshan, and then looked away. She was undeniably beautiful, especially in her uniform, enough to set Lin Yi's mind ablaze. What's with that attitude? I'm asking you a question. Song Lingshan was even more infuriated when Lin Yi ignored her. Before, people said that women with big breasts are brainless, but I didn't believe it. But now, I do. Lin Yi raised his head, his eyes scanning Song Lingshan's body. What do you mean? Explain it to me clearly. Song Lingshan felt uncomfortable under Lin Yi's gaze. Who are you calling big-breasted and brainless? Who knows? Lin Yi curled his lips. Anyone with a bit of intelligence can see that those people were causing trouble in this school, and I was acting in self-defense. And you, on the other hand, arrested me. How could Song Lingshan not know what Lin Yi was talking about? Regardless, Lin Yi had severely injured that Black Panther guy, leaving him in critical condition. She was right to ask Lin Yi to investigate. Besides, Song Lingshan found Lin Yi infuriating, and this time she wanted to use the opportunity to scare him, to teach him that he shouldn't be so arrogant. This time, they injured gangsters, but what if he injured ordinary people next time? Chapter 58. It was him. We'll have to investigate what you did. What I saw was that you severely injured that Black Panther guy. He's in the hospital, but you're fine. Song Lingshan snorted coldly, continuing, so, whether your actions were self-defense or intentional injury, we'll have to investigate. Whatever. Lin Yi knew Song Lingshan disliked him and wanted to use her police officer status to lecture him. They both knew who Black Panther was and that they had registered with Song Lingshan, so this incident was most likely due to yesterday's incident. Song Lingshan never imagined she would one day abuse her power for personal gain. But upon closer inspection, it couldn't be considered abuse of power for personal gain. At least Lin Yi had injured Black Panther, so there was nothing wrong with criticizing and educating him. The police car had a partitioned front and back compartment, so only Lin Yi and Song Lingshan were in the back. The driver couldn't hear their conversation from the front, so Lin Yi felt freer to speak, daring to say things like big breasts, no brains. Seeing Lin Yi turn his head away, ignoring her, Song Lingshan felt completely bored. Fortunately, her phone rang, and she answered. Xiao Song, this is Yang Huaijin. Captain Yang Huaijin's voice came from the other end. Captain Yang, are you back in Songshan? Song Lingshan breathed a sigh of relief when she received Yang Huaijin's call. After a night of interrogation, she hadn't found any clues about the bank robbery, leaving her distraught. Now that Yang Huaijin had returned to personally solve the case, she felt relieved. Well, I just arrived and am on my way back to the police station. Is everything going on over there? Yang Huaijin asked. A gangster known as Black Panther Brother was causing a disturbance at number 1 middle school. I just went over to deal with it, Song Lingshan reported truthfully. What? Black Panther Brother causing a disturbance at school? Yang Huaijin was shocked. He hadn't expected so much to happen in Songshan in just one day of his absence. It didn't really cause any consequences. Black Panther was seriously injured by a student and has been taken to the hospital. I've also taken that student back to the police station for a detailed investigation. Song Lingshan couldn't help but glare at Lin Yi as she spoke. Okay, we'll talk after I get back. Yang Huaijin breathed a sigh of relief when she heard nothing had happened. The police car roared into the Songshan City police station, and Song Lingshan personally escorted Lin Yi out. Two of Black Panther's men were escorted out of the police car behind them by other officers. At the same time, another police car pulled into the police station compound. Seeing the license plate, Song Lingshan was instantly delighted. It belonged to Captain Yang Huaijin. Sure enough, a tall, dark-skinned man jumped out and walked quickly towards the police station building. This man was Yang Huaijin, captain of the city police department's criminal investigation division. As Song Lingshan spotted Yang Huaijin, Lin Yi also saw him. How could it be him? Lin Yi's pupils suddenly contracted, and he quickly lowered his head. Captain Yang, Song Lingshan happily waved in the direction of Yang Huaijin. Lin Yi really wanted to kick Song Xiaonu. You said you were at the police station, but why didn't you quickly take me to the interrogation room? Why did you say hello to him? Lin Yi had to turn his head to the side to avoid Yang Huaijin's attention. I didn't expect us to be there at the same time. Yang Huaijin walked over, smiled and nodded to Song Lingshan, then turned his gaze to Lin Yi. Is this the student who injured Black Panther? That's him. Song Lingshan nodded and looked at Lin Yi, but saw that Lin Yi had his head drooped and looked obedient. She was immediately furious. What do you mean? Just now in the police car, you acted like you were so important, but now at the police station, when you see Captain Yang, you are so honest. Aren't you looking down on me? Thinking of this, Song Lingshan snorted coldly. Lin Yi, what are you doing? Raise your head and let Captain Yang see you. Xiao Song, you seem to be in a bad mood. You are just a student. Be nicer. Yang Huaijin frowned. When he saw Lin Yi wearing a school uniform, he instinctively didn't think that Lin Yi was a bad guy. He should be a victim. So he patted Lin Yi on the shoulder and said, Young man, what's the matter? Talk to the big brother. Lin Yi lowered his head speechlessly. Who is the big brother of whom? However, Lin Yi was afraid that Yang Huaijin didn't recognize him at this time, so he lowered his head even lower and didn't bother to say anything more to him. Captain Yang is talking to you. Seeing that Lin Yi started to show off again, Song Lingshan was so angry that she really wanted to give him a slap on the head. Oh, it's nothing actually, Lin Yi said in an unclear tone. Nothing? Yang Huaijin frowned after hearing this, thinking to himself, how can this kid be so ungrateful? I asked him this question because I knew he was a student and wanted to keep it low-key, not leaving any marks on his file. But I didn't expect Lin Yi to be so nonchalant. They were giving me trouble, and I just beat them up. Lin Yi was so angry that he cursed. You weren't so nosy before, were you? What happened today? After Lin Yi finished speaking, Yang Huaijin remained silent for a long time, but Lin Yi could feel a burning gaze staring at him, making him feel uncomfortable all over. Can you lift your head? After saying this, Yang Huaijin found himself a little amused. There were so many similar people in this world. Although this person's voice was very similar to that person's, he was just a student. I'm not a grown-up girl, so don't look at me, Lin Yi sighed inwardly. He had discovered something after all. But it was no wonder. How could he possibly hide it from Yang Huaijin, who is always known for his sharpness? Song Lingshan was also a little confused by the situation. Lin Yi was indifferent to Yang Huaijin, but why was Captain Yang's attitude so surprisingly good? Song Lingshan was about to forcibly lift Lin Yi's head up, but she saw Yang Huaijin actually leaning down and looking up at Lin Yi's face. That's right. There's no mistake. It's him. Yang Huaijin was at least 90% sure that the person in front of him was the one he had been looking for. Although he didn't know why he suddenly became a student, Yang Huaijin believed his eyes. Arno. Yang Huaijin couldn't help but feel excited and asked tentatively. What? Lin Yi cursed inwardly, but he pretended to be suspicious without showing any emotion. Ying, is that you? Yang Huaijin had been carefully observing Lin Yi's expression, but the result was very disappointing. When he said the man's English name, Lin Yi did not react at all. Chapter 59. You are delusional. But Yang Huaijin was not discouraged. What kind of character is that person? If he can be seen through such a simple test, then it would be a waste of time for him to treat him as a god of war. Song girl, it's okay if you are mentally retarded, but why is your captain so jumpy? Since Yang Huaijin saw his appearance, Lin Yi no longer dodged and simply raised his head. Hey, it seems that the pressure of your work is too great. You should receive psychological treatment to relieve the stress. Why don't you admit it? Yang Huaijin ignored Lin Yi's evasion and grabbed his shoulders excitedly, shaking him hard. I am a hound? Don't you recognize me? Song Lingshan was about to refute Lin Yi, but suddenly heard Yang Huaijin calling himself a hound, and her eyes widened. What the hell is going on? Is Captain Yang really under too much pressure and started talking nonsense? Hey, look at me, Songshan Yu, he's got a serious case of paranoia. He's actually fantasizing about himself as an animal. Lin Yi shook his head. And, as soon as he saw me, he mistook me for an animal, too. Song Lingshan's face was immediately filled with black lines. Captain Yang usually had a steady and wise image. What had happened today? If he hadn't been sure just now Yang Huaijin was 100% certain that the person before him was the one he was looking for. Those difficult years, the comrades who had shared hardships together, the friendship cultivated under such circumstances, how could Yang Huaijin possibly recognize the wrong person? Especially the tone of Lin Yi's voice, and that unique nonsensical tone, made Yang Huaijin even more certain that the person before him was him. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Yang Huaijin's mind. Could he be carrying out a special mission and couldn't reveal his identity? Yes. It was very likely. Considering the level of the mission he and his companions had carried out, Lin Yi's current behavior was not surprising. Xiao Song, leave him to me. I will handle this case myself. Yang Huaijin grabbed Lin Yi's arm without hesitation, as if he was afraid that he would run away. Oh, okay then. Song Lingshan didn't understand why Yang Huaijin was so concerned about Lin Yi's affairs, and he also made many strange behaviors, but she habitually obeyed Yang Huaijin's orders. Yang Huaijin didn't have time to say hello to Song Lingshan. He directly took Lin Yi's hand and rushed towards the office building. Lin Yi followed Yang Huaijin with a wry smile. It seemed that he could not escape this disaster. Bang! After Yang Huaijin closed the office door, he locked it tightly from the inside. Although Yang Huaijin also understood that for that person, even if he was thrown into prison, he would still be able to get out. Lin Yi was very single at the moment and sat directly on the sofa in Yang Huaijin's office. Captain Yang, right? What on earth do you want to do? You have to know that in broad daylight, two grown men are locked in an office. If it gets out, you have to know that I am still a high school student, okay? There are no outsiders here, and my office is soundproof enough. You also know that my nickname is Hound, which means that my reconnaissance and counter-reconnaissance capabilities are very strong. No one will install a bug here and escape my eyes. Yang Huaijin came to his senses, staring at Lin Yi closely, and said word by word. No way? What do you really want to do with me? Lin Yi widened his eyes innocently. Don't pretend, Eagle, you know what I'm talking about, Yang Huaijin said seriously. Sorry, you recognized the wrong person. I'm not an eagle, and I don't know what you are talking about, Lin Yi shrugged. I won't admit my mistake. Yang Huaijin's expression suddenly became agitated. He jumped in front of Lin Yi and shook Lin Yi's shoulders vigorously. Eagle, are you running away from something? Why don't you admit your identity? Lin Yi was a little indifferent. Was he really running away from something? Those years of war, the absolute trust between comrades, that beautiful face and those melancholy and heartbroken eyes made Lin Yi's heart twitch violently. Xiaoning has been looking for you all these years. Yang Huaijin's face became a little distorted. Lin Yi's denial made his emotions become a little abnormal. Who is Xiaoning? Lin Yi felt as if his heart was pricked by a needle, but on the surface he still looked calm. You? Yang Huaijin's eyes were bloodshot, and he glared at Lin Yi fiercely. You want to escape, right? You will ruin her life. Suddenly, Yang Huaijin covered his chest with his hands, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead like rain. His whole face turned pale and twisted, and his body was shaking constantly. What's wrong with you? Lin Yi was shocked. Yes, he could deny everything, but this former comrade in arms, the person he could once give his life to, Lin Yi could not ignore it no matter what. Yang Huaijin took out a bottle of medicine from his jacket pocket with difficulty, opened it with trembling hands, took out a pill and held it in his mouth. After a while, his face was slightly relieved, but he was still breathing heavily. Lin Yi glanced at the label on the medicine bottle. It turned out to be an imported strong sedative and analgesic. His face changed immediately. Why are you taking this medicine? Lin Yi knew Yang Huaijin's physical fitness very well. He could be said to be as strong as an ox. It was impossible for him to suffer from any hidden illness, but now. You finally admit it. Although Yang Huaijin's face was still pale, a long-lost smile crossed his lips. Let's not talk about this for now. What's wrong with your body? Lin Yi didn't bother to deny it anymore. He helped Yang Huaijin sit on the sofa. I'm not that delicate, it's okay. Yang Huaijin grinned, and it was obvious that he was really happy. Eagle, I know I didn't recognize the wrong person. Although you have grown taller in the past 2 years, and the sharpness in your eyes has lost its former sharpness, and you have become much more introverted, I still recognize you. Okay, I admit that I am. First, tell me, what happened to you? Also, why did you retire? Isn't the organization you belong to a lifelong system? Lin Yi really couldn't imagine what had happened to Yang Huaijin in the past 2 years. Although he still looked very strong on the surface, Lin Yi noticed a hint of illness on his face. Old man Lin was a well-known old doctor in the village, so Lin Yi also inherited his true medical skills. I retired, Yang Huaijin smiled, because I was injured and can no longer perform such high-risk tasks. I transferred to the local police station. Chapter 60. Why aren't you dead yet? Injured? How did you get injured? Lin Yi asked. That time, after we came back from North Africa, I received a new mission. It was to track down an international drug smuggler, but I didn't expect there was a master among them, and I was injured. At this point, Yang Huaijin smiled bitterly. I am lucky. When they saw me fall down, they thought I was dead, so they didn't continue to beat me, but Pangolin and the others. Pangolin. What happened to him? Lin Yi was shocked and asked quickly. Pangolin died, Yang Huaijin said a little sadly. What? Lin Yi's face became scary in an instant. Pangolin, that short guy, always had a bright smile on his face. Unexpectedly, the comrade who fought side by side 2 years ago left like this. Seeing Lin Yi's expression, Yang Huaijin could also deeply understand that feeling. Pangolin was Lin Yi's comrade in arms, and also is Yang Huaijin's comrade in arms. When he learned of the news of Pangolin's sacrifice, Yang Huaijin, a grown man, couldn't help crying. Perhaps, he is not dead. Yang Huaijin was afraid that Lin Yi would be sad, so he hurriedly tried to comfort him. The body was not found. A glimmer of hope flashed in Lin Yi's eyes. Pangolin was a very smart young man. Perhaps, he could really escape. It is said that the body was thrown into the drug refining furnace by those drug lords. I only found out about this later, Yang Huaijin sighed. When I woke up, I was in so much pain that I didn't care about anything else. I found a secluded place to hide. Later, I lost consciousness and was not rescued until I was rescued. Fuck his ancestors. Lin Yi punched a coffee table in front of him. The exquisite solid wood coffee table was instantly smashed into a pile of wood chips by Lin Yi. Yang Huaijin secretly clicked his tongue. It was worthy of being an eagle, still so fierce. Yang Huaijin asked himself that he could definitely not do such a thing. I'm sorry, I was so badly injured at the time and couldn't go to see how my comrades were doing. Every time Yang Huaijin thought of this, his heart was filled with guilt. It's not your fault. Lin Yi shook his head. In that situation, he knew Yang Huaijin would only die if he went forward. In this situation, the only righteous thing to do was to conserve his strength. Are you seriously injured? I was covered in wounds and spent the better part of 6 months recovering. After I healed, I retired. Yang Huaijin sighed. Western medicine calls it sequelae, while Chinese medicine calls it a complete severance of meridians. I can't get emotionally excited or engage in high-intensity work for long periods of time. And I need medication to maintain my health. Lin Yi put the matter of the pangolin aside for the moment and observed Yang Huaijin carefully. Give me your hand, what are you going to do? Yang Huaijin looked puzzled, but he still held out his hand. Take your pulse, Lin Yi said, placing his hand on Yang Huaijin's wrist, his expression growing serious. You can take pulses? No way, Eagle. I thought you were good at killing, but you can also save people. Yang Huaijin looked at Lin Yi in surprise. This comrade who had been through life and death with him in the hail of bullets was a comrade in arms. There's so much you don't know, Lin Yi smiled. Why, you don't trust me, you don't? Yang Huaijin's eyes widened. Who don't I trust? You? Back on the battlefield, I could trust you with my back, don't be so corny. Lin Yi was joking, but his heart was growing heavier. Yang Huaijin's pulse was weak. It could be felt that although his body had recovered, his internal injuries were severe. Several of his organs hadn't fully recovered and were even showing signs of continued failure. How is it? Am I feeling okay? Yang Huaijin asked curiously, seeing that Lin Yi had actually taken his pulse. You only used painkillers to solve your problems. Lin Yi's question was irrelevant. Yes, what's wrong? Yang Huaijin asked. Then why aren't you dead yet? Lin Yi frowned. Yang Huaijin was speechless. Damn it, are you cursing me to death? I'm not cursing you, but your condition is very bad right now. Your last injury hasn't fully recovered, and it's only worsening. I don't know how you've managed to hold out for so long with painkillers, but generally speaking, anyone else would have died of agony." Lin Yi said this with a serious expression. He wasn't trying to scare people, but was stating a fact. And for someone like Yang Huaijin, there was no need to lie to him. Those who had fought in the battlefield had long since put life and death aside. Even if Lin Yi told him he was going to die tomorrow, Yang Huaijin wouldn't have had any major reaction. An old Chinese doctor said so before, saying I wouldn't live more than 6 months. Look, I'm still alive and well. Yang Huaijin wasn't affected by Lin Yi's words. Instead, he stretched his arms and legs with ease. He's right. 6 months is a compliment, Lin Yi nodded. Eagle, can you please stop insulting me? Do I look like someone who's about to die? Yang Huaijin glared at Lin Yi with some dissatisfaction. My name is Lin Yi. Don't call me Eagle anymore. Lin Yi glanced at Yang Huaijin and continued, so, your survival is a miracle. It's probably due to your strong willpower. What's wrong with that? Yang Huaijin continued. You can still use painkillers to relieve the pain, but it will get worse, Lin Yi said. You may have noticed by now that you're taking more medication, both more often and in higher doses, than before. Do you really understand medicine? Yang Huaijin was surprised to hear Lin Yi hit the nail on the head. What do you think? Lin Yi released Yang Huaijin's hand. He already had a general understanding of Yang Huaijin's condition. Yang Huaijin's condition was complex. As the saying goes, every herb has its own side effects. In other words, if Lin Yi prescribed a medicine to treat his heart, it might also affect Yang Huaijin's spleen or liver. Similarly, if he prescribed a medicine to treat his liver, it might also affect his heart or kidneys. In short, no matter which part of the body is treated, it will cause side effects on other organs. This makes it worse than not treating him at all, and will only speed up his death. Seeing Lin Yi lost in thought, Yang Huaijin couldn't help but ask, what's wrong with you? What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about your condition. Lin Yi sighed slightly. It's complicated. Conventional Chinese medicine treatments will inevitably affect other organs. While they may be effective for a single organ, they will accelerate the failure of other organs. If you treat them all at once, it's like there's no cure, or you might die from poisoning. Chapter 61 The Girl I Can Never Forget. Damn, Yang Huaijin slapped his thigh and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. You are quite capable. You are worthy of being the captain of my hounds. When I was injured, the army invited the most famous Chinese medicine expert in the country, Mr. Guan Zumin, to treat me. After he examined my illness, he said the same thing. Guan Zumin. Lin Yi seemed to have heard of this name, but he forgot where he heard it. Yet, it was him who said that I wouldn't live more than half a year. Yang Huaijin smiled. He told me that if I want to die slowly, I shouldn't treat it. I can use painkillers to hold on, and maybe I can live a few more days. What a bullshit. Lin Yi frowned after hearing this. I'll go back and think about your illness. I'll come up with a plan for you as soon as possible, but I can write you a prescription first. It's more effective than Western analgesics and the side effects are not as big. After that, Lin Yi walked to Yang Huaijin's desk, took out a piece of paper and a pen, and quickly wrote down a prescription on it. Then he handed it to Yang Huaijin. You'd better go get this prescription yourself. Don't let anyone else know. And I don't want anyone to know about my affairs. Let's not talk about the past anymore. It really works? Eagle, you've really surprised me. Yang Huaijin took the prescription from Lin Yi and looked at the densely packed names of Chinese herbs, stunned for a moment. There was no way this could have been written randomly. The average person probably couldn't even write the names of these herbs. I told you, don't call me Eagle. My name is Lin Yi. Lin Yi corrected him. Okay, Lin Yi. Yang Huaijin nodded and carefully put the prescription into his arms. Since this was a prescription written by his former captain and comrade, Yang Huaijin trusted it unconditionally. If it didn't work, at most he would die. Who knew how long he would live? You're amazing, kid. No wonder Xiaoning is so petty. Yang Huaijin gave him a thumbs up. Hearing the name, Lin Yi's smile froze for a moment. After a long pause, he looked up. Does she still remember me? She asked about you the last time I saw her. Yang Huaijin nodded confidently. Maybe just asking. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He and she were from completely different worlds, never intertwined. Even if they were destined to separate. There was no equality between people, and Lin Yi understood this deeply. At least for now, Lin Yi didn't have the ability to give her a future. Do you want to be irresponsible? Yang Huaijian's expression suddenly became agitated, and he glared at Lin Yi fiercely. Yang Huaijian's strange reaction startled Lin Yi slightly, but then he seemed to understand something. Do you like her? Yang Huaijian fell silent at Lin Yi's question. After a long pause, he said, everyone in the death squad back then had a crush on Xiaoning. However, this also implicitly acknowledged his thoughts. She's a good match for you. Lin Yi knew Yang Huaijian's background. He and she were a perfect match, right? What do you mean? Yang Huaijian jumped up, as if someone had hit him in the gut. His face darkened. He pointed at Lin Yi. Who do you take me for? A friend's wife shouldn't be bullied. Even if I were a dirk, I wouldn't do such a thing. She's not my wife. Lin Yi shook his head and said calmly, okay, I'm leaving. I'll leave Song Lingshan's affairs to you. I trust that won't be a problem. With that, Lin Yi stood up and walked towards the door. I really want to kill you. Yang Huaijian punched Lin Yi in the back. Lin Yi, without even turning his head, grabbed his arm and said, as long as you can do it. Yang Huaijian knew the gap between him and Lin Yi was not small, and he let go of the force in a somewhat dejected manner. Lin Yi also released Yang Huaijian's arm, opened the door, and walked out of Yang Huaijian's office. Although Lin Yi's expression remained unchanged, his thoughts drifted back to those war-torn years, to the girl he had met and parted with in his destiny. For the past 2 years, Lin Yi had often woken from his nightly training, each time drenched in sweat. This hadn't happened to him since he began practicing the Xuanyuan dragon-taming art. But those melancholy eyes, like a demon within him, kept recurring, filling Lin Yi's nights. Every time he caught sight of those resentful, sorrowful eyes at parting, Lin Yi would be startled awake from his training. It was a recurring, endless nightmare. Had he truly forgotten her? Clearly not. She was a girl that any man, once glimpsed, would never forget. However, Lin Yi also knew clearly that her dazzling brilliance did not belong to him. While the 17-year-old Lin Yi still had a hint of rebelliousness, the current Lin Yi understood the harshness of reality even more clearly. Going to her would only bring trouble to her and those around her. A mismatch between their social status and a small-timer hooking up with a goddess, that's just fiction, it's nonsense. From the moment Lin Yi was taken away by the police, Chief Chen's phone at the police station had been ringing non-stop. First, it was Ding Binggong, the principal of No. 1 middle school. Chief Chen was cautious about Ding Binggong's call and promised him he would investigate thoroughly. However, the subsequent calls were from increasingly prominent figures. First, it was Uncle Fu, Chu Pengzhan's friend, and then it was Chu Pengzhan himself who called to inquire about the matter. In desperation, Chief Chen had no choice but to call Song Lingshan, urging her to handle the case quickly, to be fair and impartial, and not to give anyone else cause for criticism. However, Song Lingshan informed him that the man had been taken away by Yang Huaijian, who had just returned. Chief Chen had no choice but to call Yang Huaijian again. What? Already released? Director Chen was a little surprised. Wasn't Yang Huaijian's speed in handling the situation too fast? Well, it was originally a gang of underworld forces that came to the school to cause trouble. It had nothing to do with Lin Yi. After I understood the situation, I asked him to go back. Yang Huaijian resumed his usual capable tone and reported. That's good that he's fine. Director Chen breathed a sigh of relief. This time he could also explain to Ding Binggong and Chu Pengzhan. When Song Lingshan learned that Yang Huaijian had released Lin Yi, she was also surprised for a long time. However, she knew in her heart that Lin Yi was not responsible at all, because she had just asked the 2 men of Black Panther about what happened. It was completely Black Panther who started the trouble first, and then Lin Yi hid him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Find a Place to Spy. Seeing Yang Huaijian regain his usual composure, Song Lingshan blinked curiously, finally unable to resist asking, Captain Yang, do you know Lin Yi? He looks a lot like a friend of mine. I got it wrong in my excitement. Yang Huaijian smiled. Did it scare you? Since Lin Yi wouldn't let him reveal his true identity, Yang Huaijian couldn't say much. No, Song Lingshan shook her head, wondering what kind of friend could have caused Captain Yang to lose his composure. but she didn't ask any further. Lin Yi emerged from the police station and was about to hail a taxi when Uncle Fu's Bentley slowly pulled up beside him. Uncle Fu popped his head out. "Mr. Lin, get in." Lin Yi nodded, and without hesitation, he walked over, opened the passenger door, and got in. To his surprise, there was another man sitting in the back seat, Chu Pengzhan. "Uncle Chu, hello," Lin Yi said politely. "Zai, are you okay?" Chu Pengzhan smiled amiably upon seeing Lin Yi. Lin Yi had always felt that Chu Pengzhan was a little too nice to him. There was something hidden, but since Chu Pengzhan wouldn't say, Lin Yi couldn't ask. "It's nothing. A few gang members came to the school to cause trouble, and I taught them a lesson. The police, after understanding the situation, released me. I'm glad you're okay." Chu Pengzhan nodded. "Thanks to you for Yao's situation. I just found out about what happened yesterday from Li Fu. You did a great job. It's my duty." Lin Yi didn't think much of it. He took Chu Pengzhan's money to help someone avoid disaster, and it wasn't for nothing. "By the way, how are you and Yao getting along? Did she chase you away again?" Chu Pengzhan thought of his daughter, and a headache came over him. "No, Yao's still easy to get along with." Lin Yi smiled. Of course, he wouldn't complain about Chu Mengyao to Chu Pengzhan, that would be sheer idiocy. No matter how naughty Chu Mengyao was, Chu Pengzhan had nothing but love for her. If he said something behind her back, he would be expelled and that would be a disaster. So Lin Yi praised Chu Mengyao at the right time. After hearing what Lin Yi said, Uncle Fu opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end he didn't say it. "Haha, you guys get along well?" Chu Pengzhan seemed very happy to hear what Lin Yi said, and a very relieved smile appeared on his face. "Yao is actually a good child, but she is a little willful. You just need to be more considerate of her." "Don't worry, Uncle Chu, I will," Lin Yi agreed readily, but thinking of what a bald man said in the robber's car yesterday, Lin Yi hesitated for a moment and decided to talk to Chu Pengzhan. "Uncle Chu, there's something I think I should tell you." "Oh?" Chu Pengzhan was stunned, then smiled slightly and said, "What is it?" "Just tell me, it's about what happened yesterday about the bank robbery," said Lin Yi. "Let's find a place to discuss this in detail. Uncle Fu isn't a stranger, but he's driving, and I'm afraid he'll be distracted." Chu Pengzhan nodded. Okay, it looked like Lin Yi wouldn't be able to go to school today, so he simply skipped it. "Mr. Chu, shall we go home?" Uncle Fu asked. "Yes, home, back to Bay Villa," Chu Pengzhan instructed. Bay Villa was Chu Pengzhan's personal villa, but since he was often busy with business and not home, it was often empty. Chu Mengyao, for convenience, lived in the Pengzhan Villa complex in the city. This complex was also developed and built by Chu Pengzhan's Pengzhan Group. Of course, Chu Mengyao lived there because Chen Yushu also lived there. The two had been best friends since elementary school, their bond as close as could be. Chu Pengzhan's villa, on the other hand, was built entirely on the outskirts of the city, occupying a large open space surrounded by lush lawns and flowers, with a road leading to the main building. Of course, this was private territory, and outsiders were not allowed in. Upon entering, Uncle Fu shone a Bluetooth keycard on the door, and the gate slowly opened. Lin Yi glanced at the brand of the door opener. It was supposedly a state-of-the-art single-entry, single-exit system. Even if the keycard was lent to someone else, it couldn't be copied. At least not by the Bluetooth card cloning devices currently available. However, it wasn't unbreakable, of course, but Lin Yi didn't say so, as it was considered quite secure for civilian use. However, if yesterday's incident wasn't fully investigated, Lin Yi planned to retrofit Chu Mengyao's villa with security measures. He couldn't guarantee 24/7 presence at her side. The car pulled up in front of the villa, and Uncle Fu got out. He opened the doors for Chu Pengzhan and Lin Yi, then returned to the car after they exited. "Uncle Fu, aren't you coming in with us?" Lin Yi had previously heard Chu Pengzhan say that Uncle Fu wasn't an outsider, so he asked. "He'll go park the car in the garage and come back." Chu Pengzhan also saw Lin Yi's thoughts. He smiled and patted Lin Yi on the shoulder. "Li Fu has been with me for over 10 years. From now on, if you have any urgent matters while I'm away, you can talk to Uncle Fu directly." Lin Yi nodded. Since Chu Pengzhan said so, Uncle Fu must be a very trustworthy person. The decoration inside the villa couldn't be called luxurious, at least not the kind of magnificent and ornate. Instead, it leaned towards a simple and elegant style. It was obvious that Chu Pengzhan was a man of taste, unlike the average nouveau riche. Please sit down. Don't be polite. It's like home. Chu Pengzhan personally found a pair of slippers for Lin Yi and placed them in front of him. This gesture made Lin Yi feel a little flattered. However, he also began to wonder if Chu Pengzhan was being too familiar with him. It seemed that he was treating him more like a family member than a subordinate. "Thank you, Uncle Chu." Lin Yi thanked him without any pretense and changed into his slippers. Lin Yi's composure, his face devoid of any sign of restraint, drew Chu Pengzhan's silent approval. Although he didn't know Lin Yi's past, he looked like someone who had seen the world. "Alright, let's talk in the study," Chu Pengzhan gestured, leading Lin Yi upstairs. The study was located at the far end of the second floor, perhaps to avoid being disturbed. However, in this vast villa, without even a housekeeper, it didn't matter which room they were in. Chapter 63. What is the purpose of the mastermind behind this? Perhaps this villa was once bustling and glorious, but now, it has become so deserted. This is what Lin Yi discovered when he went upstairs. Although the villa was clean, the handrails of the stairs showed signs of wear. This shows that this villa was once occupied for a long time. It is impossible that Chu Pengzhan only comes back once a week like now. However, Lin Yi naturally would not ask about these things. These are all Chu Pengzhan's family affairs and have nothing to do with Lin Yi directly. Therefore, Lin Yi has always maintained a calm attitude and remained calm in the face of changes. The degree of wear and tear on the leather chair in the study also shows this. Chu Pengzhan must have often sat here to work. "Zai, take a seat." Chu Pengzhan sat down in the leather chair behind the desk and gestured to Lin Yi. "There's a refrigerator in the back. There are drinks in there. Feel free to take whatever you want. Don't worry, they won't expire. Li Fu will replace them regularly. I'm not thirsty." Lin Yi shook his head. "Uncle Chu, let's get down to business first, shall we?" "Okay, let's get started." Chu Pengzhan nodded, signaling Lin Yi that he could begin. "Look, as I'm sure you know, the ultimate goal of those robbers yesterday wasn't to rob the bank. Their goal was Miss Chu," Lin Yi said solemnly. "Although I don't understand why they went to such great lengths to kidnap Miss Chu, it would have been easier to kidnap her directly from the school gate or the villa gate." "Haha, are you trying to remind me to investigate their true motives?" Chu Pengzhan smiled and said, "Indeed, you're right. They seemed to have gone to great lengths to kidnap Miss Chu from the bank, but they had their reasons." "What reasons?" Lin Yi didn't expect Chu Pengzhan to have thought of all this. It seemed he was being overly suspicious. "Confusing?" Chu Pengzhan dropped to a smile and said seriously, "This way, people outside the organization will think they didn't kidnap Yao, but used her as a hostage while robbing the bank and escaping." "Oh," Lin Yi's eyes lit up, and he gestured for Chu Pengzhan to continue. He had a clue. These are two different things, and they can mislead the police's investigation. This way, the police will treat this case as a robbery rather than a kidnapping, giving the robbers ample time to make their next move. But, what puzzles me is how they calculated Yao's presence at the bank at that time. Chu Pengzhan finished, raising his own doubts. "I've done some analysis. Yesterday, the school asked everyone to apply for a bank card to deposit tuition. After school, the bank is always closed. There's only one nearby bank that's open 24 hours a day, so if Miss Chu wants to apply for a card, she'll definitely go to that bank," Lin Yi explained. He hadn't considered what Chu Pengzhan had said before. The key was that he didn't understand these people's true motives or what they wanted. So, after Chu Pengzhan's words, Lin Yi had some clues. "Are these people targeting you?" "Probably," Chu Pengzhan nodded. "During the contract negotiation, they put forward many harsh conditions. I didn't agree, and they didn't make any concessions. They just kept dragging it out, as if they were waiting for something. Now that I think about it, Yao's incident happened around that time. These two things might be related." "Oh," Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. Sure enough. No wonder Chu Pengzhan had said before that these people robbed the bank to mislead the police. After all, if the investigation is misdirected, the time to solve the case will be delayed, which gives the criminals time. If it was true as Chu Pengzhan said, then all it took was a hint that Chu Mengyao was in their hands, and wouldn't Chu Pengzhan have obediently signed the unequal treaty? The more I think about it, the more likely it seems. I just don't have any evidence, Chu Pengzhan sighed. But for someone at this level, even if there's evidence, what good would it do? Who are they? Lin Yi immediately understood after hearing Chu Pengzhan's words. The other party must be on par with Chu Pengzhan, otherwise they wouldn't dare to do such a thing. No wonder the bald man had said that besides capturing Chu Mengyao, Maliu wouldn't touch her. It seemed he was just trying to scare Chu Pengzhan. If Chu Mengyao were actually touched, Chu Pengzhan would likely retaliate violently, perhaps even with all his might, regardless of the consequences. Such a result would inevitably be mutually destructive, and the other party clearly didn't want that. Thinking of this, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. The other party didn't intend to harm Chu Mengyao. It was safe to say, Chu Mengyao's safety was not a serious concern. Don't worry about these things, I will take care of this matter. Humph, Chu Pengzhan, am not a soft person. Do you want to force me to submit in this way? Chu Pengzhan stopped here, waved his hand and said, forget it, let's not talk about this, you just need to accompany Yao well, remember, give her more love. When this child was young, her mother passed away, and I was busy with business all day long and lacked love. Her mother passed away when she was young. Lin Yi sighed inwardly that the eldest lady was really pitiful. She lost her mother at a young age, and her father was busy all day. What's the difference between this and having no parents? Lin Yi is also an orphan, so he can naturally understand the bitterness of it, so he nodded and said, don't worry, Uncle Chu, I can understand Miss Chu's feelings. What a wicked word game. Lin Yi thought Chu Mengyao's mother died when he heard Chu Pengzhan say that her mother had passed away. The word left, in this context, could indeed represent that meaning. However, Chu Pengzhan actually meant that the young lady's mother had truly left, not died, leading to Lin Yi's subsequent blunder. Well, that's why I asked you to stay with her. Forget it, you two. Let's not talk about this for now. It's a bit abrupt now. We can talk about it later, when there's more time. Chu Pengzhan hesitated, deciding to wait before explaining the agreement between his father and old master Lin to Lin Yi, fearing that Lin Yi might not be able to accept it immediately. Lin Yi was a little confused about what Chu Pengzhan was going to say, but since he said they would talk about it later, Lin Yi couldn't ask any questions and could only wait for Chu Pengzhan to explain the situation. Since these people don't want Miss Chu's life, I'm relieved, Lin Yi thought to himself, don't let this young lady die next to me. That would be a disaster. Not only would I not get my wages, I might even be held responsible. More importantly, no one has ever died near me. Except for enemies, of course. However, Lin Yi would never let his comrades die. Chapter 64 Clues to the Robbery. Not long after the two of them finished talking about Chu Mengyao's family affairs, Uncle Fu's voice was heard outside the study. It was not known whether he deliberately waited for the two to finish their conversation before knocking on the door, or if he just came up at this time. In short, although Chu Pengzhan said that Uncle Fu was a trustworthy person, Lin Yi always felt that Chu Pengzhan seemed to be hiding something from him. He asked him to accompany Chu Mengyao, not just to find her a study partner, a nanny and a bodyguard, but there seemed to be other deeper meanings. However, Chu Pengzhan did not say what it was, and I believe Uncle Fu probably didn't know either. I'm afraid only Chu Pengzhan knew. Mr. Chu, I have parked the car, can you come in? Come in, Xiaoyi and I were just talking about what happened yesterday, Chu Pengzhan said. Uncle Fu pushed the door open and walked in, sitting on the sofa next to Lin Yi. Before, we talked about why the kidnappers chose the bank. Xiaoyi said that it was because the school required every student to apply for a bank card and deposit tuition and miscellaneous fees into it. Chu Pengzhan saw Uncle Fu come in, so he continued the previous topic. From this we can see that perhaps there is someone in Yao's school who leaked the information, otherwise the kidnappers would not have chosen to rob the bank at this time. Yes, Lin Yi nodded, I think so too, and I think this person should be a faculty member in this school, not a student. Only faculty and staff can know these things in advance. By the time the students know, it is almost time to go home from school. It is obviously too late to notify the kidnappers to prepare at this time. Not bad. Chu Pengzhan nodded approvingly after hearing this. He seemed very satisfied with Lin Yi's wit. I will also investigate the school, but forget it, let's not talk about it. Why, is it difficult? Isn't Uncle Chu a board member of the school? Lin Yi was a little surprised. It should be easier for Chu Pengzhan to investigate things in school, right? I'm a board member, yes, but the school has 3 other directors, each of whom owns shares in the school. So, you can imagine the obstacles to the investigation. Chu Pengzhan didn't hide this from Lin Yi, it wasn't a secret. So that's how it is. I'll keep an eye out for it when I'm in school, Lin Yi said after hearing Chu Pengzhan's explanation. By then, Lin Yi had a rough idea of what was going on. The kidnappers weren't kidnapping Chu Mengyao for money or life, but to use her to force Chu Pengzhan to make concessions on a business partnership. Furthermore, the kidnappers didn't choose to carry out the kidnapping elsewhere, hoping to confuse the police and buy time. If Chu Pengzhan's daughter had been kidnapped, one could imagine the immense resources the police would have devoted to a frantic search for the kidnappers. In that case, Chu Mengyao might have been found before their goal was achieved. Upon returning to the criminal investigation team, Yang Huaijin immediately helped Song Lingshan research the bank robbery case. However, once the case was in Yang Huaijin's hands, it seemed perfectly at home. Yang Huaijin called the Urban Management Command Center and retrieved yesterday's surveillance footage from every street near the bank. Only then did Song Lingshan realize how clueless she had been. Although the digital urban management system had only been in operation in Songshan for less than a month, Yang Huaijin had already keenly memorized this useful information. Digital urban management, also known as digital city management, refers to the use of information technology and mobile communications to process, analyze, and manage all urban management components and incident information across the city, promoting the modernization of urban management through information technology. The Urban Management Bureau has installed surveillance cameras on every major street, providing 24/7 monitoring of sanitation, traffic flow, and other aspects of the route. Song Lingshan considered requesting footage from the traffic police, but unfortunately, their equipment was only available at certain intersections, not at other locations. So, Song Lingshan gave up. Unexpectedly, Yang Huaijin had the idea of using the Urban Management Department's surveillance footage to solve the case. While this seemed simple, it demonstrated one thing: she wasn't being thorough enough. Things that seem insignificant to the work often play an unexpected role at critical moments. With the surveillance footage, everything became much easier. The Urban Management's 24/7 surveillance cameras had only recently been activated and were still in the trial phase. Not many people knew about them, so the kidnappers couldn't have known about them. In fact, they clearly didn't know that on the road section Zhang Xiaohang was responsible for, not long after the first car, license plate Song A74110, passed by, a second commercial van with license plate Song A74110. This was undoubtedly the car the robbers were riding in. From there, it was a matter of following the clues and locating the approximate location of the kidnappers' car. The reason for the approximate location was because the Urban Management's 24/7 surveillance cameras were only installed on urban roads. Some outlying streets didn't need to be installed, so the final footage was the only way to determine the robbers' approximate location. However, even so, it is enough. The scope has been narrowed to a certain extent, and the search is relatively easy. Zhong Pinliang has been worried all day. He didn't expect that a transfer student who looked like a country bumpkin would be so fierce. He provoked him yesterday and beat up Zhu Ruiming, one of the bosses of the school, this morning. He thought he would die miserably, but it was the Black Panther brother he found who was beaten badly by him. Zhong Pinliang finally understood what the difference in strength was. Black Panther brother couldn't beat Lin Yi even with a gun in his hand. What can he do to him? However, he couldn't act too cowardly in front of Zhang Neipao and Gao Xiaofu at this moment. He hated Lin Yi to the bone, but he was also afraid of him to the bone. Using ordinary methods, it is definitely impossible to deal with Lin Yi. If he wants to avenge his previous grudge, he can only make other plans. Brother Liang, how come Lin Yi is so powerful? Gao Xiaofu said with some displeasure, but that Black Panther brother is too weak, isn't he? I thought he was very capable, and he is not much different from us yesterday. That's right, he is so cowardly even with a gun. If I were him, I would have shot that kid Lin Yi to death, Zhang Neipao said angrily. Gao Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao had never been in the society, and usually they only heard Zhong Pinliang say how great Black Panther brother was. After seeing him today, they felt that he was just so they were not shocked. The one who was really shocked was Zhong Pinliang. He was the only one who knew Black Panther brother's skills best, but now he was suffering losses repeatedly at the hands of Lin Yi. Chapter 65. Do you like him? Zhu Ruiming was equally shocked. Seeing Black Panther's half-dead appearance, Zhu Ruiming decided to stay away from Lin Yi. He was a lunatic, and Zhu Ruiming didn't want to die. Although this matter was a bit depressing, as the second in command at school, He was afraid of a transfer student. If he told anyone about it, it would be a disgrace to him. However, Zhu Ruiming reasoned that he and Lin Yi were separate. As long as he didn't actively provoke him, it shouldn't affect him, right? The thought made Zhu Ruiming secretly happy. That idiot Zhong Pinliang, why would he bother to provoke a transfer student? He hadn't even investigated the transfer student's background yet, and he was already trying to provoke him. He was simply impatient. Hey, Sister Yao, do you think Lin Yi is going to be okay? Song Lingshan seems so arrogant, as if she's deliberately trying to cause trouble for Lin Yi, Chen Yushu whispered to Chu Mengyao, who was flipping through her English book. Who cares? It's better if he's arrested and sentenced. That way he won't bother me, Chu Mengyao snorted and said, my dad saves you salary too. Oh, you really don't care about him? Chen Yushu looked at Chu Mengyao with a half-smile. Zia Oshu, what's with that look in your eyes? Chu Mengyao frowned. Why should I care about him? Okay, let's not talk about him anymore. I still have to review my lessons. Oh, okay, Chen Yushu smiled and pointed at the English textbook in Chu Mengyao's hand, then said, Sister Yao, you're holding your English book upside down. You just spent so long studying. You're amazing. Chu Mengyao blushed, glanced at the book in her hand, and quickly closed it in a panic. She glanced at Chen Yushu beside her, then opened the book again, pouted and said, okay, I just don't want him to get into trouble because of me. After all, this matter was originally caused by me, and it was me who asked him to deal with Zhong Pinliang. I have already called Uncle Fu, he will take care of it. Oh, haha, Chen Yushu smiled, but that expression was obviously full of suspicion. Chu Mengyao felt a little uncomfortable with Chen Yushu's smile. She shrank her neck, but still felt uncomfortable. She always felt that Chen Yushu's eyes were staring at her fierily. However, Chu Mengyao thought of something immediately. By the way, it's you, classmate Zia Oshu, you seem to care about Lin Yi more than me? Are you in love with him, me? Yes, I like him, so what? Chen Yushu looked at Chu Mengyao with a smile, and didn't think it was something shameful. Upon hearing that Chu Mengyao had contacted Uncle Fu, Chen Yushu breathed a sigh of relief. She knew Uncle Fu's abilities in Songshan City. She'd even considered calling her grandfather. Huh? Chu Mengyao's mouth dropped open in shock, staring at her incredulously. You like him? Oh, I do. Why are you rushing? You can't even speak clearly. Are you jealous? Chen Yushu chuckled at Chu Mengyao's expression. Why should I be jealous? If you like him, then go after him. I'm sure that guy will be so charming he'll burst into tears. Chu Mengyao's expression shifted to one of disapproval. Okay. I'll go after him then. Don't regret it later, Chen Yushu said seriously. Who would regret it? Haha, Chu Mengyao shook her head nonchalantly, but as soon as she said that, a sudden wave of discomfort washed over her. For some reason, it felt unsettling. I was kidding. Haha. Seeing she hadn't amused Chu Mengyao, Chen Yushu felt the point was lost and stopped talking. I'm just annoyed with Song Lingshan. She wants to touch her people. No way. Yeah, Lin Yi is my follower, but he's also my man. Chu Mengyao didn't know why, but after hearing Chen Yushu's explanation, she felt relieved. This inexplicable feeling baffled her, but she didn't think much of it. Although Zhong Pinliang appeared calm and composed in front of Gao Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao, he was actually more afraid than anyone else. It wasn't that he was afraid of Lin Yi's retaliation, but that Black Panther would expose him at the police station. If that happened, he would become the mastermind, and who knows if he would be implicated. If he was implicated, his father would definitely punish him severely, and he might even have to transfer to another school. Seeing Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu chatting and laughing not far away, Zhong Pinliang became increasingly annoyed. He was a celebrity at school, but he didn't even have a girlfriend. It was a joke to tell anyone about it. Meanwhile, fellow campus bully Zhu Ruiming had countless girlfriends. He was rumored to be pursuing Tang Yun, the school's most popular beauty. Honestly, Zhong Pinliang had only recently caught wind of Tang Yun after hearing Zhu Ruiming's plans. She was a beautiful, elegant girl, and even though she wore a school uniform, her beauty couldn't be hidden. But compared to little princesses like Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu, she was a bit less striking. Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu came from prominent families and were chauffeured to school in luxury cars, while Tang Yun, from a relatively humble background, wasn't as conspicuous. Even so, In terms of looks alone, Tang Yun was no less attractive than Chu Mengyao and Chen Yashu, and even had a slightly better figure. However, Chu Mengyao and Chen Yashu held a high position, maintaining a distant demeanor. So Zhong Pinliang was not afraid that other flies would get there first, because in this school, he was the only one who dared to pursue Chu Mengyao. Zhong Pinliang was not in a hurry, he had enough patience to win Chu Mengyao. But the appearance of Lin Yi broke his original plan. In a rage, he called Brother Black Panther to the school without regard for the consequences. What he didn't expect was that Brother Black Panther even took out a gun without regard for the consequences. The nature of the situation changed all of a sudden. It went from gangsters making trouble in the school to gang members committing crimes with guns in the school. Zhong Pinliang was very afraid that Brother Black Panther would not be able to withstand it and would give him up. At that time, let alone pursuing Chu Mengyao, whether he could continue to study in school was another matter. Lin Yi came back from Chu Pengzhan and looked at the time on his mobile phone. It was already past 11 o'clock in the afternoon. If he went to school at this time, there wouldn't be any classes. Worried about Yang Huaijin's injuries, and having arrived in a hurry without any books on traditional Chinese medicine and pharmacology, Lin Yi hesitated, hailed a taxi, and said to the driver, "Let's go to the largest bookstore in the city, young man." The largest bookstores in the city are Xinhua Bookstore and Zuhei Bookstore. They're both about the same size, but what kind of books do you want to buy? The taxi driver inquired. Oh? What's the difference between the two bookstores? I want to buy medical books. Lin Yi's previous books were all brought back by his old man when he went into the city, and he had never bought any himself. If you want to buy literature or miscellaneous books, Xinhua Bookstore is the natural choice. They have a wider selection, but if you want academic books, Zuhei Bookstore is the natural choice. They cater to students and researchers, the driver said. If you want to buy medical books, I recommend Zuhei Bookstore. Chapter 66, Medical School Guanzuman. The car stopped at the entrance of Zuhei Bookstore, unexpectedly passing Songshan First High School along the way. The distance between the bookstore and the school was only about one stop, so he could walk back after buying his books. Lin Yi paid the fare, walked into Zuhei Bookstore, asked the salesperson at the entrance, and headed straight for the medical section. At that hour, the bookstore was not crowded, and even fewer were in the medical section. A single, scholarly-looking old man stood at the bookshelves, flipping through something. Lin Yi followed the labels, found the book he needed, and began to flip through it. There were a few uncommon Chinese herbs that he needed to verify. Yang Huaijin's injuries were complex, and his body functions had been completely disrupted by the painkillers. However, for some unknown reason, he hadn't died. Someone must be treating Yang Huaijin's condition. After all, the influence of the Yang family behind Yang Huaijin was not to be underestimated. "Young man, do you like Chinese medicine?" The scholarly-looking old man had suddenly approached Lin Yi, looked at the book in his hands, and asked. "A little research." Lin Yi smiled and nodded to the scholarly-looking old man. "Young man, are you a student at the nearby medical university?" the old man continued to ask, showing no sign of giving up. "No, I'm a student at Songshan First High School," Lin Yi replied casually. He had no objection to the old man. He could tell he was someone with a deep academic bent. If he was someone using flirting to achieve some purpose, Lin Yi wouldn't bother to say a word. "Oh? A high school student?" The old man was somewhat surprised by Lin Yi's words. Few young people these days are interested in traditional Chinese medicine. While some medical students might come to the bookstore to look up information for exams, they don't have much interest in traditional Chinese medicine. Guanzuman had been searching for years for a disciple to inherit his legacy, to no avail. Unexpectedly, he met a high school student in the bookstore who was interested in traditional Chinese medicine. While there are quite a few students at the medical university who are deeply interested in traditional Chinese medicine, most of them gravitate towards Western medicine. They study traditional Chinese medicine merely to broaden their knowledge, never considering it as a career or research direction. This deeply disappoints Guanzuman. To inherit his legacy, one must first be interested in traditional Chinese medicine themselves. If one already believes Western medicine is superior, how can one even think of inheriting his legacy? "Young man, do you think traditional Chinese medicine or Western medicine is superior?" Guanzuman couldn't help but ask. "They each have their strengths, but I'm more inclined towards traditional Chinese medicine." Lin Yi closed the book he was holding and picked up a nearby one, finding the information he needed and beginning to research it. Western medicine treats symptoms, while traditional Chinese medicine treats the root cause. In some cases, treating the symptoms is the only way to address the root cause, but simply treating the symptoms without addressing the root cause isn't a good idea either. Lin Yi's words, though somewhat ambiguous, resonated deeply with Guan Zumin. He wasn't a die-hard TCM believer. On the contrary, he had also deeply studied Western medicine. They each had their strengths, and only by leveraging their strengths could they benefit the world. Young man, are you interested in applying to medical university? Guan Zumin, a man with a talent for talent, found Lin Yi increasingly appealing. I haven't considered it yet. It depends on my family. Lin Yi hadn't really considered it yet. Which university he applied to wasn't his decision, it was up to his old man and Chu Pengzhan. If he got fired, forget about university, he'd just go back to the mountains. Is that so? Guan Zumin was a little disappointed after hearing Lin Yi's words, but still unwilling to give up. He pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to Lin Yi. Young man, here's my card. Go back and talk to your parents. If you're interested in studying medicine, I can help you get admitted. I still have that kind of power. Lin Yi, somewhat surprised, took the card he offered. Guan Zumin, Dean of the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine at Songshan Medical University. Seeing Guan Zumin's status, Lin Yi no longer doubted his words. Being the dean of a university college, let alone a department head, wielded considerable power. Thank you. Although Lin Yi had no plans to study medicine, he politely put away his business card. Of course, if you have any questions about traditional Chinese medicine, you can call me, Guan Zumin said. Although he hadn't achieved his goal, Guan Zumin still hoped that Lin Yi would contact him more often. Okay, Dean Guan, Lin Yi nodded. Guan Zumin, presumably busy with other matters, took a few selected books and left, leaving Lin Yi alone to continue researching. Lin Yi didn't take this little incident seriously. When it came to medical skills, who could compare to his old man? It was said that when he was young, the old man had casually given a few pointers to a young Chinese medicine practitioner, who later became a renowned physician. Of course, this was just something Lin Yi heard from the old man while he was drunk, and whether it was true or not was unclear. But Lin Yi had indeed learned a lot from the old man over the years. After finding what he wanted, Lin Yi put the books back. There was no need to buy them back just yet. Taking them back to school would draw too much attention, so Lin Yi preferred to keep a low profile. However, Lin Yi probably couldn't keep a low profile at this point, because his fame had spread throughout the entire campus since today's break. On his way back to school, Lin Yi casually bought a pancake from a roadside stall to fill his stomach. At this hour, the cafeteria was likely out of food. Lin Yi went straight back to the classroom, where he saw Chu Mengyao and Chen Yashu still seated, watching cartoons. As he entered, Chen Yashu glanced up at Lin Yi and nudged her. She raised her eyelids, then returned to her tablet. Lin Yi ignored them and returned to his seat. Hey, Sister Yao, Brother Arrow is back. He doesn't look like he's been subjected to any inhumane treatment. Chen Yashu had read so many novels that she assumed anyone who went to the police station would be ripped off. HMPH, would that little Song Lingshan have the heart to do anything to him? He came out so soon. She must have let him out. Chu Mengyao curled her lips, seeming somewhat displeased with Lin Yi's swift return from the police station. Hey Sister Yao, do you think they won't do that in the police station? Chen Yashu fantasized evilly. Zia Oshu. You are too evil. Chu Mengyao frowned. Don't disgust me. I don't want to vomit what I ate at noon. Hearing Chu Mengyao mention vomit, Chen Yashu remembered the time when Chu Mengyao ate Lin Yi's saliva and couldn't help laughing. Chapter 67, Transfer you to another class? Boss, are you okay? Kang Xiaobo had been in a state of excitement all morning. These past 2 days had been the most manly he had ever lived. Kang Xiaobo had once read a post online about the things men should do before turning 30, and one of the things was to get into a fight. Kang Xiaobo had previously thought he wouldn't be able to achieve this, but unexpectedly, he did it on the eve of the college entrance examination. During break exercises, Kang Xiaobo was so excited that he almost accompanied Lin Yi to the police station, but Lin Yi's look stopped him in his tracks. Lin Yi himself didn't care. After all, he was here on a mission sent by the old man, albeit a somewhat baffling one that he hadn't yet grasped as anything special. Going to school was secondary, but Kang Xiaobo was different. If this incident left a stain on his life record, it would be a lifelong issue. It's okay. The police quickly figured it out. It was Black Panther who was gathering gangs of people to cause trouble at school. As Lin Yi spoke, he noticed Zhong Pinliang, not far away, prick up his ears. He couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't the kid afraid Black Panther would find him? That's good, Kang Xiaobo breathed a sigh of relief. He hadn't gone to the police station with Lin Yi that morning, fearing Lin Yi would blame him for being disloyal. Now that Lin Yi was alright, he was naturally delighted. Boss, I'll treat you to a meal after school to calm you down. After school? We'll talk about it later. Lin Yi glanced at Chu Mengyao in front of him, realizing he had to go back with them after school. He had no choice. The first class of the afternoon was with the homeroom teacher, Teacher Liu. While Teacher Liu was aware that the morning's incident was likely related to Zhong Pinliang, she kept quiet. After all, such matters should be downplayed if possible, as they didn't want to affect other students. The monthly exam is coming up soon, so let's take a quiz today. Teacher Liu sorted the papers into piles and distributed them to the students in the front row of each group, asking them to take them and pass them around. Senior year is generally characterized by a quiz every 2 days and a major one every week, a routine many have become accustomed to. While this morning's events brought a bit of a break from the usual monotony of study, time-crunched senior year leaves little time for extraneous thoughts. While this morning's events were a shock to the freshmen and sophomores, for the diligent seniors, it was merely a minor blip in the throes of intense study. Except, of course, for the few school bullies who didn't study. The paper handed to Lin Yi was an English test. English was Lin Yi's strong point. He was proficient not only in English but also in several languages worldwide, a skill he'd acquired for the assignment. He didn't want to be too conspicuous. In this elite class at a prestigious high school, maintaining a mid-level score was enough to get into a good university, so there was no need for him to achieve exceptional results. After all, he was accompanying Chu Mengyao to study, and there was no telling how long he would finish. So, when Lin Yi was answering the test, he deliberately got some wrong, and at the end of get out of class, he asked Kang Xiaobo to hand it in for him. Boss, how did you do on the test? The questions were quite difficult, with a lot of new words I had never seen before. Kang Xiaobo's grades weren't outstanding, just average. Average, Lin Yi said with a smile. Not great, the education in the city is definitely better than in your rural area, and the tests will be more difficult. Kang Xiaobo thought Lin Yi wasn't adjusting, so he consoled him. It'll be fine once you get used to it. Yeah, Lin Yi nodded, unable to explain further to Kang Xiaobo. Although Lin Yi thought Kang Xiaobo was a good friend, he couldn't share his personal affairs with him. After all, they were from different worlds. During the second class that afternoon, a staff member from the teaching department came to announce that Director Wang Xifan wanted to talk to Lin Yi, Zhong Pinliang, Guo Xiaofu, and Zhang Neipao. Lin Yi said nothing, simply standing up and walking out of the classroom. Kang Xiaobo was a little worried about whether the school would punish Lin Yi for this. After all, if he was punished right before graduating from high school, it would be a loss. However, Lin Yi had no such thoughts. Firstly, Wang Xifan had evidence against him, and secondly, he was accompanying the princess to study, and his file was all fabricated, so he didn't care whether he was punished or not. Zhong Pinliang's face changed, and he hesitated for a moment before standing up. Guo Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao saw Zhong Pinliang stand up and followed him out. At the door, Zhong Pinliang paused and said to Guo Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao, "If Wang Xifan asks about this morning's events, we'll all say we don't know. We'll just say Black Panther doesn't know anything about any personal grudges with Lin Yi. We just know Black Panther. If he asks us who Lin Yi is, we'll point him out. Everything else has nothing to do with us." Guo Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao had worried that the school would punish them for this incident. After all, neither of their family backgrounds was as strong as Zhong Pinliang's. While Zhong Pinliang might be fine, they might become scapegoats. Hearing Zhong Pinliang's instructions, they immediately nodded in agreement. Zhong Pinliang watched Lin Yi walk a short distance ahead, clenching his fists in anger. Today's events had humiliated him, and it was all thanks to this transfer student. He hadn't expected Lin Yi to be so skilled. It seemed his usual fist-to-fist approach wasn't working. Arriving at Wang Xifan's place, he listened to Zhong Pinliang and the other stories and realized they were fabrications. News has come from the police station that the Black Panther is the security captain of Zhong Pinliang's father's nightclub. A security captain came to the school to cause trouble for Lin Yi for no reason? If they said that this matter had nothing to do with Zhong Pinliang, Wang Xifan would not believe it. However, Wang Zhifeng had consulted the principal before. Due to Zhong Pinliang's family background, this matter could only be handled in a low-key manner. Black Panther had already taken all the responsibility at the police station, and there was no need for Wang Zhifeng to offend anyone. So he taught Zhong Pinliang and the others a lesson and let them go back. When Lin Yi was left alone, Wang Zhifeng did not ask more about what happened in the morning. It was obvious that what happened in the morning had nothing to do with Lin Yi, so there was no need for Wang Zhifeng to ask. He left Lin Yi alone to ask for his opinion. Lin Yi, Zhong Pinliang and his friends are not good people. But the school can't do anything to them because of his family's relationship. Otherwise, I will transfer you to another class. Chapter 68, It is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Wang Zhifeng knew that Lin Yi was introduced by Chu Pengzhan, so he wanted to use this as a way to show his favor to Lin Yi. After all, besides Class 3-5, the key class for senior year also had a corresponding class, Class 3-6. Transferring Lin Yi to Class 6 would also avoid further conflict with Zhong Pinliang. Lin Yi burst out laughing after hearing Wang Zhifeng's words. It seemed Wang Zhifeng was afraid that Zhong Pinliang and his group would cause trouble for him again. However, Lin Yi's real purpose was to accompany Chu Mengyao. How could he just change classes without Chu Mengyao? Besides, Lin Yi didn't really care about Zhong Pinliang's clowns, and he doubted they would dare to act in his presence again. Thank you, Director Wang. I'm happy in this class. I've just gotten used to the environment and don't want to change. Lin Yi politely declined Wang Zhifeng's offer. Is that so? Okay then. If anything happens in the future, don't be so impulsive. Report it to the school immediately and they'll handle it. Seeing Lin Yi's persistence, Wang Zhifeng stopped talking. I think after this incident, Zhong Pinliang and the others will behave themselves for a while. During evening study, the English test results came out. As expected of a key class in a key high school, even though Kang Xiaobo said the test was a bit difficult, several students scored above 130 out of a perfect 150. Kang Xiaobo scored 111, and Lin Yi scored 109. Of course, Lin Yi did this on purpose, keeping his score just below the middle of the class and not drawing attention. But what surprised Lin Yi was that two of the students who scored above 130 were Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu. It seems these two wealthy girls are no slouch, Lin Yi thought to himself. Boss, not bad. Not bad on your first try. Kang Xiaobo was surprised to see Lin Yi only 2 points lower than him. Maybe it was a bit of luck, Lin Yi thought. If he had known the questions were so difficult, he would have made a few mistakes. Let's go get something to eat tonight? My treat. Kang Xiaobo had mentioned this to Lin Yi at noon, but Lin Yi hadn't agreed then, saying they'd talk about it later. Let's do it on the weekend. My house is quite far from school, and there won't be any buses if I go home late, Lin Yi said apologetically. I see. That's right. There are only a few buses near the school, so let's talk about it on the weekend. Kang Xiaobo had clearly misunderstood Lin Yi's intentions. Lin Yi thought Kang Xiaobo was a good person and didn't want to lie to him, but since he had misunderstood, Lin Yi wouldn't say anything. Lin Yi's original intention was indeed that Chu Mengyao's villa was far from the school, and Uncle Fu's car couldn't wait for him. If he was late, there would be no car. After school, Lin Yi and Kang Xiaobo left the school gate together. He watched Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu get into Uncle Fu's Bentley from the corner of his eye, and then said to Kang Xiaobo, I'm leaving. See you tomorrow, see you tomorrow. Kang Xiaobo was in a state of excitement today. He had originally wanted to have dinner and a few drinks with Lin Yi that evening, but since Lin Yi didn't have time, he had to give up. What's the rush to leave? Stand there, the sudden voice startled Kang Xiaobo. He looked up to see Zhong Pinliang, Zhang Neipao, and Gao Xiaofu blocking his way. Gao Xiaofu was the one speaking. Zhong Pinliang called home during break and learned that Black Panther had taken the entire responsibility himself. However, Zhong Pinliang was still scolded by his father. Zhong Pinliang was getting more and more upset. All of this was caused by Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't afford to offend him, so he could only sulk. Gao Xiaofu came up with a plan. Since Lin Yi couldn't beat him for the time being, he could teach Kang Xiaobo, who was beside him, a lesson. Yesterday on the rooftop, this guy was quite awesome, and today he rushed up and kicked Black Panther's crotch? Why would he keep him alive if he wasn't going to teach him a lesson? Zhong Pinliang's eyes lit up when he heard this. Yes, we can't afford to offend Lin Yi, but it would be good to teach Kang Xiaobo, That's softy, a lesson to vent his anger. What are you guys going to do? Although King Xiaobo had been a man these past 2 days, it was also because Lin Yi was around. Now he was alone, and he had to be tough even if he wanted to. It was obvious that Zhong Pinliang and the other two had bad intentions, and King Xiaobo suddenly felt a surge of fear in his heart. What are you doing? Don't you know what you have done these 2 days? Zhong Pinliang sneered, stretched out his hand and slapped King Xiaobo's face hard. King Xiaobo, I really didn't realize before that you are still a hidden figure. What did I do? King Xiaobo knew that even if he begged for mercy at this moment, it would be useless. Since the grudge with Zhong Pinliang has been made, it is better to defend him to the end. At most, he will be beaten up, and you may be beaten to death. Huh? You are still so tough. Zhong Pinliang looked like he had already defeated King Xiaobo. What? You dare not admit it? Or are you not confident now that your transfer student is gone? To be honest, Zhong Pinliang finally let out more breath of anger, but he felt a little aggrieved when he thought about it. He actually felt to the point of bullying an ordinary classmate to vent his anger. King Xiaobo knew he couldn't avoid this beating today, he was doomed anyway. He straightened his neck, a surge of heroic spirit rising from his chest. Zhong Pinliang, if you touch me today, I'll pay you back 10-fold or 100-fold someday. Come on, if you dare. With that, King Xiaobo closed his eyes, his expression aloof and ready for death. Fuck, you're still talking tough? Interesting. Hey guys, what are you still standing there for? Let's get started. Seeing that King Xiaobo didn't kneel down and beg for mercy, Zhong Pinliang felt the point was lost and stopped talking to him. Brother Liang, Go Xiaofu suddenly tugged nervously at Zhong Pinliang's sleeve. What's wrong? Zhong Pinliang frowned. What's going on? Go Xiaofu pointed to a nearby spot, then said in a panic, Brother Liang, look over there. What? Zhong Pinliang glanced impatiently in the direction Go Xiaofu pointed, and was startled to see Lin Yi walking towards him with a smile. However, this smile turned into a devilish smile in Zhong Pinliang's eyes. Why is he back again? Didn't he leave? Zhong Pinliang was shocked. This Lin Yi is a lunatic. What will happen to him when he comes? Although he felt extremely humiliated and indignant, Zhong Pinliang did not dare to confront Lin Yi head-on. Damn it, a gentleman's revenge is never too late. I will return the humiliation I suffered today 10-fold or 100-fold one day. What Zhong Pinliang did not expect was that King Xiaobo's bold words were used by him in the blink of an eye. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Don't invite him to join? Without further explanation, Zhong Pinliang turned and ran. Gao Xiaofu and Zhang Neipao, seeing Zhong Pinliang had fled, realized they were no match for Lin Yi, so they turned and followed him. King Xiaobo closed his eyes, stiffened his neck, and prepared to sacrifice himself. After waiting for a long time, Zhong Pinliang didn't move. Puzzled, he opened his eyes and glanced, only to find Zhong Pinliang and his two companions sprinting ahead like rabbits, swiftly disappearing into thin air. Huh? King Xiaobo was stunned. What was going on? Could it be that he had just trembled with his powerful body, unleashing a domineering aura, and had scared off Zhong Pinliang and his men with his words, "One day I'll pay you back 10-fold and 100-fold, no way." Would that make him the legendary protagonist of a novel? Just as King Xiaobo was lost in wonder, a large hand rested on his shoulder. King Xiaobo jumped, turning around to see Lin Yi standing behind him, grinning. Why are you just sitting there? Shocked at the sudden sight of Lin Yi, King Xiaobo immediately understood why Zhong Pinliang and the other two had turned and fled. It wasn't because of the supposedly powerful aura he'd unleashed, but rather because Lin Yi's arrival had sent the three fleeing. Let's go. There won't be any cars soon. Lin Yi patted King Xiaobo on the shoulder, then turned and hurried toward the next intersection, where Uncle Fu parked his car every day. Earlier, when Lin Yi and King Xiaobo had separated, he glanced back and saw King Xiaobo surrounded by Zhong Pinliang and his men. Knowing King Xiaobo was no match for Zhong Pinliang, Lin Yi went to help him. King Xiaobo took a deep breath, about to say thank you, but found Lin Yi had already vanished. King Xiaobo clenched his fists. When would he be able to stand tall and manly like Lin Yi? Despite having only transferred in 2 days, He had already completely subdued Zhong Pinliang, one of the school's foremost infamous brats. Lin Yi returned to Uncle Fu's Bentley. Chu Mengyao frowned, but didn't comment on Lin Yi's arrival. Chen Yushu, however, beamed at Lin Yi. "Brother Arrow, you're quite impressive." Zhong Pinliang and the others turned and ran when they saw you. Hearing Chen Yushu's words, Lin Yi knew she must have witnessed him helping Kang Xiaobo from the car. He smiled non-committally. "Sister Yao, see, I told you Lin Yi is competent. With him by your side, Zhong Pinliang will definitely stop pestering you." Chen Yushu tugged at Chu Mengyao's hand. "He's not much better than Zhong Pinliang," Chu Mengyao snorted, internally puzzled. Could this Lin Yi really be that skilled? Subduing Zhong Pinliang in just 2 days? Humph, he's probably just a bit better at fighting. Lin Yi was used to Chu Mengyao's attitude and didn't take it seriously. A young lady is always a little harder to please, but as long as she doesn't dislike him, it's fine. He's here to carry out a mission with a reward that will keep him fed for the rest of his life. Back at the villa, Lin Yi looked at the tissue box on the living room table and recalled the embarrassing scene that morning. Seeing Chen Yushu's sly eyes rolling around beside him, Lin Yi thought to himself that this was not good. This little girl might come up with something for him to do again, so he quickly returned to his room. He'd looked up some books on medicinal properties and pharmacology in the bookstore today. While he still had some memories, Lin Yi wanted to write them down as quickly as possible and come up with a feasible treatment plan for Yang Huaijin. Yang Huaijin's entire body function had become chaotic due to the medication, which involved both traditional Chinese and Western medicine. Although Yang Huaijin was safe for the time being, he was essentially at the end of his rope, and any minor lesion could become a fatal injury. Healing all damaged internal organs at once was impossible. Even the old man probably didn't have the ability, especially since he had already mastered his skills. After Lin Yi's careful pulse examination today, he concluded that the root cause of Yang Huaijin's illness was a complete breakdown of his meridians. The severance of the meridians connecting his internal organs naturally affected organ function, leading to organ failure. In this situation, Lin Yi decided to start with the damaged meridians. Once all the meridians were opened up, organ function would naturally recover. Yang Huaiping was only in his 20s, not yet at the stage of physical decline, and these conditions could heal on their own. After writing a satisfactory prescription and treatment plan, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Although Lin Yi had been confident that Yang Huaijin could recover, he remained somewhat concerned until he had a viable plan. "Alice," Lin Yi sighed. If Yang Huaijin could practice the Xuanyuan dragon taming technique he had cultivated, all this trouble wouldn't be necessary. However, he had promised the old man not to tell anyone else besides him and his master. While the old man could be considered Lin Yi's master, strictly speaking, he was more like a family member. While the old man's martial arts skills were not weak, Lin Yi's killer moves were inherited from another master. It was said that in their early years, the master and the old man had shared hardships and had a life-and-death friendship. Of course, Lin Yi didn't know all this, only vaguely aware of it. A soft sound came from outside the room. Lin Yi keenly noticed it, put away the prescription and treatment plan in his hand, and quickly dodged to the door. However, Lin Yi soon breathed a sigh of relief. It was Uncle Fu who had arrived to deliver dinner. The previous sound must have been Uncle Fu opening the villa's door. Lin Yi opened the door and walked out. "Uncle Fu, Mr. Lin, dinner is ready." Uncle Fu smiled and nodded at Lin Yi. Uncle Fu left quickly after delivering the meal. Chu Mengyao locked the door of the villa and glanced at Lin Yi, who was walking back to his room after helping Chen Yushu set the table. She wanted to ask him to eat with her, but the words reached her lips and she swallowed them back. While she was hesitating, Lin Yi had already entered his room. "Humph, if you don't want to eat, then forget it." Chu Mengyao was a little angry. Yesterday, she had already told him that he could eat with her, but he went back to his room. If Lin Yi knew Chu Mengyao felt this way, he would definitely cry out in injustice. He was afraid that this little girl would be unhappy, so he helped Chen Yushu set the table, then went back to his room, and waited for the two of them to finish eating before he would go and devour everything. Anyway, Lin Yi didn't dislike the two of them. Just like Kang Xiaobo said, at school, boys who wanted to eat Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu's leftovers would line up. "Why not ask Brother Arrow to join us?" Chen Yushu had wanted to ask Lin Yi to eat with her, but she didn't know if Chu Mengyao would disagree. "Never mind him, let's eat ours," Chu Mengyao got angry when she thought of this. Oh, Chen Yushu picked up her chopsticks and suddenly thought of something. She pushed the open bottle of orange juice on the table in front of Chu Mengyao. Yao, this is for me, you can drink it. Chu Mengyao's face immediately turned pale when she saw the orange juice. Obviously remembering what happened the night before, she glared at Chen Yushu fiercely. Zia Oshu, did you do this on purpose? No way, I just mean well. Chen Yushu blinked her big, watery eyes innocently. Go away, it's no use flirting with me. Don't you like your wriggly brother? Go wink at him instead, Chu Mengyao said angrily. Chapter 70 I'll help you get revenge. Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu couldn't eat much either. Before Lin Yi came, they always left more than 3/4 of their meal. However, for nutritional balance, Uncle Fu still adhered to the 4-dish and 1 soup rule every day, at least 3 dishes and 1 soup. Even the most skilled chef couldn't make a single dish too small, that would make it difficult to control the heat and balance the seasoning. So, to preserve the flavor, they kept the normal portion sizes. After a few bites, Chu Mengyao felt a meal was bland. Before Lin Yi came, she and Chen Yushu would chat about interesting topics over their meals, and a single meal could last over half an hour. For some reason, today, the memory of Lin Yi standing up for himself at the bank last night kept resurfacing. Was this guy a fool, or was he truly dedicated to his job? There was no need to risk his life for a few tens of thousands of dollars, was there? Although Chu Mengyao didn't know where her father had found such a man, her resentment towards Lin Yi seemed to have lessened. Was it because he'd saved her yesterday? Well, then, I'll keep him around for now. Having him as my thug isn't bad after all. I'm full. Thinking about how her attitude towards Lin Yi seemed rather abominable, always leaving leftovers for others to eat, it was indeed a bit too much. What's wrong? Yao, why are you eating so little? Chen Yushu looked at Chu Mengyao in surprise. She had only touched a few of her chopsticks, and that was the vegetables in front of her. Nothing, maybe I'm a little tired. Chu Mengyao shook her head. I'm going upstairs. Ask Lin Yi to eat with you. Oh, Chen Yushu was stunned. What was Chu Mengyao saying? Chu Mengyao felt a little irritated. This person, whom she clearly hated so much, had saved her yesterday. She had finally tried to show him some kindness, but he was still being arrogant. Humph, if you don't want to eat, then forget it. I won't eat either. It's up to you to eat or not. Chen Yushu looked at Chu Mengyao's haggard and tired figure and blinked in confusion. Was she frightened by what happened last night? That's not right. It's been a whole day and a night. Isn't his reaction too slow? Chen Yushu put down his chopsticks, ran to the door of Lin Yi's room and knocked on the door. Hey, Brother Arrow, come out and eat. Lin Yi opened the door and looked at Chen Yushu. You called me, would I call Sister Yao Brother Arrow? In this villa, you seem to be the only one who can be called brother. Chen Yushu slapped his forehead and said, oh, I remember now. There are also the mighty General and Brother Big Dog. Lin Yi was speechless. Comparing himself to a dog? Let's go and eat. I'm starving. After that, Chen Yushu walked towards the restaurant. Lin Yi glanced towards the restaurant, but didn't see Chu Mengyao. Puzzled, he followed Chen Yushu into the dining room. Where's the young lady? You mean Sister Yao? She said she wasn't hungry and ate a few bites before going upstairs. Chen Yushu pointed to the spot where Chu Mengyao had been sitting and said, sit down and eat quickly. The rice is ready for you. Oh, Lin Yi glanced at the table and saw that it was already served. Since Chu Mengyao had gone upstairs, Lin Yi didn't need to be polite. Although Chen Yushu was a bit eccentric, she wasn't a pushover. Chen Yushu looked at Lin Yi with a wicked look as he picked up his chopsticks, scooped up a mouthful of food, placed it in his bowl, and shoveled it into his mouth along with the rice. His heart suddenly beamed with joy, and he clenched his fists under the table. Yes, I'll tell Sister Yao later that I've avenged her. Yesterday, she ate Lin Yi's saliva, and today, Lin Yi used her chopsticks to eat the rice she had left behind. Lin Yi also ate her saliva. Now they're even. Eat slowly. Here's some water. Chen Yushu handed Lin Yi the bottle of orange juice. Oh, thank you. Lin Yi felt a little choked by Chen Yushu's words. He took the orange juice and took 2 sips, then immediately realized something was wrong. This orange juice, oh, Chu Mengyao just took 2 sips and left. I didn't want it to be wasted, so I gave it to you. Chen Yushu looked at Lin Yi innocently. By the way, you don't dislike her, do you? You won't go rinse your mouth and throw up too, will you? Oh, Lin Yi replied expressionlessly. Although he knew Chen Yushu was definitely doing it on purpose, it didn't matter to him. Back in the primeval forest, all the iron tools on him were basically used as weapons, leaving only one set of tableware for everyone to use in turn. Lin Yi had already developed this mentality. Besides, not everyone can eat a beautiful woman's saliva. Maybe if Chu Mengyao spits, that idiot Zhong Pinliang will lick it, Lin Yi thought evilly. Seeing that Lin Yi had no special reaction, Chen Yushu was a little disappointed, but then she suddenly remembered that she had taken a sip of the orange juice before, so she couldn't help but blush. However, after what happened, Chu Mengyao's saliva was diluted, so there should be nothing for her to do with it, right? Chen Yushu comforted herself. Yes, it must be like this. Hey, Wrigley brother, I'm thirsty, pour me a glass of boiled water, Chen Yushu said to Lin Yi because the food was a bit too salty. Go yourself, Lin Yi continued to eat without raising his eyes. Toilet paper TV Chen Yushu coughed twice. Lin Yi rolled his eyes. What if this was a secret signal? Somewhat helplessly, he got up to pour water for Chen Yushu. Thinking that Chen Yushu was quite nice to him and didn't forget to think about him while eating, Lin Yi endured it. If Yang Huaijin knew that he was serving two young ladies all day, he would probably laugh out loud. He poured Chen Yushu a glass of water. He already knew her glass was the pink one that morning, so Lin Yi was familiar with it. Thank you, Brother Arrow, Chen Yushu said sweetly, accepting the glass from Lin Yi. Lin Yi said nothing and continued eating. Chen Yushu had thought that if she acted coquettishly, Lin Yi might be more willing, but she hadn't expected her coquettishness to be seen by a blind man. It seemed that in Lin Yi's eyes, the braised chicken on the table looked even better than her own. Actually, Lin Yi wasn't blind, it was impossible not to be tempted by a beautiful woman. But he was here on a mission. To be frank, this was just a brief encounter. After the mission was over, everyone would go their separate ways, perhaps never seeing each other again. Lin Yi didn't want to be tied down too much. Besides, Chu Pengzhan had arranged for him to accompany Chu Mengyao to school. What would it mean if he had sex with Chu Mengyao's best friend? He had to be a fool. Even to this day, Lin Yi still didn't understand why Chu Pengzhan had asked him to be around Chu Mengyao. If they were looking for a servant or a bodyguard, there was no need to bring him from afar. Right? Just anyone could do the job. They were dealing with low IQ opponents like Baldy, and idiots like Zhong Pinliang, which left Lin Yi speechless. Chapter 71 He still has the advantage. After dinner, Lin Yi went to clear the table. Uncle Fu used to take the food containers away the next morning, and they'd be cleaned by someone at the hotel. However, Lin Yi felt the greasiness wasn't nice, so he simply cleared them away. Brother Arrow, you're such a good family man. Whoever marries you in the future will be blessed. I'm coming upstairs, Chen Yushu encouraged Lin Yi and went upstairs. Marry me? Lin Yi felt a chill run down his spine, his first thought being that this girl had a patriarchal bent. However, Lin Yi was used to Chen Yushu's eccentricities and said nothing. After cleaning the food containers and placing them in a plastic bag, Lin Yi turned off the dining room lights and headed for his room. The second 5-year period was approaching, which made Lin Yi a little impatient. Although his physical condition had undergone a significant transformation after practicing the first level of the Xuanyuan Yulong Jue, his meridians were stronger than before, and his agility were much more refined than before. In the eyes of ordinary people, he was an expert among experts, but this only made Lin Yi even more excited. If the first level was already so powerful, how much more powerful would the second and third levels be? Moreover, beyond the subsequent secret manuals of the Xuanyuan dragon taming art, could there be anything else behind the stone door in the cave wall? Lin Yi touched the jade pendant on his chest. This single jade pendant had already brought him countless benefits. The thought of even more treasures behind the stone door was exhilarating. On many occasions, this single jade pendant had saved his life and the lives of his comrades. Lin Yi still hadn't fully grasped or understood the functions of this jade pendant. However, its abilities were profound, almost as if it understood his thoughts. If anyone within a certain range intended to harm him, the jade pendant would transmit a signal, letting him know in advance. It was precisely because of the jade pendant's early warning that Lin Yi and his comrades were able to escape danger time and again in the hail of bullets in the primeval forest. Another function is that if someone he has met and has previously harmed him is within a certain radius, even if they conceal their murderous intent and temporarily refrain from threatening Lin Yi can gradually locate their presence through the jade pendant's signals. The closer he is to them, the stronger the signal from the jade pendant. Duels between masters often devolve into sneak attacks and assassinations, with a quick retreat after a missed strike, avoiding prolonged battles. Even those who have clashed with Lin Yi once, even if they managed to escape under cover, were inexplicably found and killed by him. This is why his teammates call him Hawk. Prey rarely escapes the side of an eagle. Of course, the jade pendant has many other uses, providing warnings of both good and bad events, though the signals it emits differ slightly. Lin Yi doesn't know how the jade pendant affects him, allowing him to receive its warnings. At least, those around him haven't been affected in any way. However, these are the three signals Lin Yi has currently identified. Under other circumstances, the jade pendant would sometimes emit other signals, but Lin Yi had no idea what they meant, nor what conditions triggered the pendant's reaction. Chen Yushu went upstairs and pushed open the door to Chu Mengyao's room, only to find her curled up on the bed, eating potato chips. An English tutorial book rested on her lap, marking today's exam paper. Eating too many snacks will affect your development. Chen Yushu glanced at Chu Mengyao with a grin, and her smile widened when she remembered what had happened to Lin Yi before. What are you laughing at? Chu Mengyao felt somewhat baffled by Chen Yushu's laughter, and she felt uncomfortable all over. She looked herself up and down, but couldn't see anything wrong. Wasn't it just a bag of potato chips? Was she mocking her breasts for not being as big as hers? Sister Yao, let me tell you something funny. I've avenged you. Chen Yushu slyly sat down on the edge of the bed and snatched the potato chips from Chu Mengyao's hand. Did you say that eating snacks affects development? Chu Mengyao glared at her. What revenge? So mysterious. I've developed very well, and my height is relatively well proportioned. Chen Yushu nonchalantly pinched a piece of potato chips and put it in her mouth. Just now, after you left, I asked Brother Wrigley to come for dinner. Then, I asked him to sit in your previous seat, and I told him that I had served him the rice, and then he ate it directly. What's the matter? You don't mean that he ate a bowl of rice I left, right? Chu Mengyao widened her eyes. And he used your chopsticks, Chen Yushu said proudly. How about it? This time he ate your saliva and avenged you. What a mess. Chu Mengyao shook her head after hearing this. Didn't he take advantage of you? Chen Yushu thought to herself, if you eat other people's saliva, you will suffer a loss, but if they eat yours, they will take advantage? But upon closer thought, it was indeed the case. If it were any other boy in the school, they'd probably be secretly delighted. Okay, let's not talk about him anymore. Chu Mengyao felt a little annoyed and didn't want to bring up Lin Yi. Why don't you sort out the mistakes on today's English test? Yeah, I'll do it now. Chen Yushu stopped joking and immediately found her school bag, pulled out the test papers, and started sorting them out with Chu Mengyao. Although Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu both had high IQs, it was useless without hard work. Despite their well-off families, Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu were still very hard-working. Chu Mengyao, in particular, didn't want to be accused of relying on her family background to get into top-tier high school. After sorting out the English test, the two of them reviewed other subjects. After all, they were already in their third year of high school and would soon take the college entrance examination. For either Chu Mengyao or Chen Yushu, their family backgrounds meant they could easily get into a top university, but getting in on their own was always different. Seeing that it was getting late, Chu Mengyao yawned, and Chen Yushu was also a little sleepy. The two of them took a hot shower in the bedroom bathroom, lay on the bed, watched an episode of cartoons on the tablet, and then fell asleep. Lin Yi, however, spent another night practicing the Xuanyuan Yulong Jue. The physical strength he replenished from practicing all night was completely equivalent to a few hours of deep sleep. When Lin Yi opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of foul air, it was already past 5 in the morning. Lin Yi went to the bathroom and washed up. He would never watch TV this morning. When he had time, he would buy a laptop and hide in his room to watch whatever he wanted. Chapter 72 Just eat something. Lin Yi had learned from Uncle Fu that before he arrived, Chu Mengyao and Chen Yushu had eaten breakfast in the school cafeteria every day, but Lin Yi didn't mind cooking. There was some leftover rice from last night, so Lin Yi decided to make some egg fried rice. It was a piece of cake. Lin Yi got dressed, left his room, and headed for the dining room. He opened the kitchen refrigerator and found a sausage and a few eggs. Lin Yi wasn't worried about these items expiring. Uncle Fu would check them regularly and stock the fridge with fresh items. Although the two little princesses rarely cooked for themselves, these items were a good thing to have on hand. Sometimes, when Chu Mengyao was hungry at night, she could fry an egg. Lin Yi often made egg fried rice when he was home, so a pot of fragrant fried rice was quickly ready. Lin Yi poured himself a bowl, quickly finished, and then tossed a bowl into the sink, rinsed it, and put it back in the dish rack. Fearing a repeat of yesterday's incident, Lin Yi simply washed the used dishes and put them away. Maybe it was the noises from washing the dishes, because a moment later, Chu Mengyao and Chen Yashu came downstairs in their pajamas, yawning. The pajamas were both cartoon-patterned, looking adorable, though a bit at odds with their age. But when Lin Yi realized they usually watched cartoons, he understood. Girls, especially those who looked like grown-ups, were always a bit childish. Just the sight of two pairs of smooth, long legs beneath their nightgowns made Lin Yi's blood boil. Could these two girls be more careful at home? Did they really think they didn't exist? Don't think you didn't dare to push them over. You really didn't dare. Wow, Brother Wrigley, you've got breakfast for us again. Chen Yashu wrinkled her nose in amusement and headed towards the kitchen, following the aroma. Oh, fried rice today, my favorite, ahem. Chu Mengyao was a little annoyed by Chen Yashu's obvious reaction. How could you let that Lin Yi get so complacent? Sister Yao, do you want to eat? Chen Yashu took a bowl, filled herself a bowl, and then asked Chu Mengyao. I don't like it. Chu Mengyao was still a little embarrassed. Eating what Lin Yi made, wouldn't it mean she was being ungrateful? Although they had eaten yesterday and the day before yesterday, but today, hey, Xiaoshi was really something. Just eat it, and acted like it was delicious. Let's eat together. I fried a lot. It would be a waste if you don't eat it. Lin Yi seemed to see Chu Mengyao's inconsistency and smiled. Oh, the teacher said that food can't be wasted, so I'll force myself to eat a little. Chu Mengyao hesitated and said with Lin Yi's help. Hell, Lin Yi didn't say anything. The eldest lady also knows how to save? You guys take your time eating, I'm going to go out for a walk. Lin Yi was afraid that Chu Mengyao would feel embarrassed if he was here, so he turned around and walked out of the villa. Sister Yao, haven't you noticed? Brother Arrow is a very considerate man. He can fight and cook, and he looks very handsome now, Chen Yashu whispered to Chu Mengyao while eating egg fried rice. Xiaoshu, are you kidding me? 2 bowls of noodles and a bowl of egg fried rice have corrupted you? You start speaking for him now. Chu Mengyao stared at Chen Yashu with eyes wide open. Are you in heat? You are in heat. Chen Yashu blushed and said, I'm just afraid that someone else will get there first. And you'll regret it then. I think that slutty Songlingshan is quite interested in Brother Wrigley. She's already had intimate contact with him after just 2.5 days of knowing him. Him? Who cares? Chu Mengyao twisted her lips. I don't think he's a good guy either. He took the bait as soon as Songlingshan seduced him. Speaking of Songlingshan, Chen Yashu felt a little depressed. Why did her elder brother like such a woman? If he knew that there was something going on between Songlingshan and Lin Yi, he would go crazy. Chu, Lin Yi sneezed as soon as he went out. What happened to him? Did he catch a cold? It wasn't cold this early in the morning? Of course, Lin Yi had no idea that the 2 girls inside were eating his fried rice while making up stories about him. Although Lin Yi had been living in the villa for 3 days, this was the first time he had taken a close look at the scene outside. This was clearly a wealthy area. Anyone who could afford a house here must be either wealthy or high-ranking. Chen Yashu's identity made Lin Yi somewhat suspicious. He had never seen her family, but she lived alone in a villa, so he assumed her family was not ordinary. A black Ferrari approached quickly from a short distance, its engine roaring loudly. As it approached Lin Yi, the Ferrari slowed noticeably. The person inside glanced at Lin Yi with some confusion. He had seen most of the young men and women in the area, but Lin Yi looked unfamiliar. The Ferrari stopped at the entrance of Chu Mengyao's villa, and the driver rolled down the window, revealing a young man. Hey, buddy, are you new here? The young man asked. Me? I guess so. Lin Yi had no idea who this person was, but since he didn't seem to indicate otherwise, Lin Yi gave him a polite response. My name is Sun Yike. If you run into any trouble in the future, just mention my name. I'll protect everyone in our Sivu Villa Bay area of Pengzhan community, the young man said to Lin Yi. Okay, thank you. Lin Yi nodded, looking at the enthusiastic Sun Yike. While he didn't need anyone's protection, Sun Yike didn't seem to have any ill intentions, so Lin Yi wouldn't refuse him. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't seem to have heard of him, Sun Yike smiled faintly and said nothing more. Hey, buddy, I haven't been to school in a while. I have to report today. Let's meet again, goodbye. Lin Yi waved him. Sun Yike started the car and sped away. From Sun Yike's words, Lin Yi had a general idea of what Sun Yike was like. He was probably quite well connected in society. Since they lived in the same villa complex, he was very considerate of the people there. However, this could also be seen as a form of showing off. Regardless, Sun Yike wasn't particularly annoying, and Lin Yi didn't show any dislike for him. Shortly after Sun Yike left, Lin Yi saw several more fine cars passing by, though none of them stopped. Besides the sports cars, there were Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi, as well as some top-tier luxury cars like Bentleys and Rolls-Royces. Chapter 73 Free Chef. Not long after, Uncle Fu's Bentley pulled up at the entrance of the villa. Uncle Fu was stunned when he saw Lin Yi standing there. Mr. Lin, why are you here? Uncle Fu got out of the car and looked at Lin Yi with some surprise. I came out to breathe some fresh air and see who lives nearby, Lin Yi said. Uncle Fu nodded. Mengyao and the others haven't come out yet? I'll go call them. As he was talking, Chu Mengyao and Chen Yashu came out of the villa, carrying their school bags, talking and laughing. Seeing Uncle Fu, they greeted him and got into the car. Lin Yi naturally sat in the passenger seat. Uncle Fu started the car and slowly drove towards the school. After the two got in, they kept whispering in the back of the car. The Bentley was quite spacious, and Lin Yi didn't want to eavesdrop on the two girls' private conversation, so he ignored them. After a while, Chen Yashu nudged Chu Mengyao. You like it? Why don't you tell me, what do I like? I just had a couple of bites. If you don't want to tell me, forget it. Chu Mengyao snorted and ignored Chen Yashu. Chen Yashu had no choice but to wrinkle her nose and say, okay, I'll tell you what I want to tell you. They spoke loudly and clearly, so Lin Yi could hear them from the front passenger seat, but he had no idea what they were saying. Oh, Uncle Fu, when you come tonight, can you buy some fresh ingredients? Chen Yashu said to Uncle Fu, who was driving. Oh? Ingredients? Uncle Fu was slightly surprised. Fresh vegetables and meat, yes. Eggs, seasonings, whatever. Just make sure to have everything, Chen Yashu nodded. Okay, Uncle Fu was puzzled. He had prepared fresh vegetables and meat for them before, but many of them had expired. After that, Uncle Fu prepared only small quantities, just in case. Unexpectedly, Chen Yashu suddenly demanded a large quantity. Judging from her previous conversation with Chu Mengyao, it seemed Chu Mengyao had a hand in this, so Uncle Fu agreed without hesitation. Yes, Sister Yao. There will be delicious food later. Chen Yashu excitedly reached out for a high five. Chu Mengyao glared at her. Eat, all you know is eat. By the time you've eaten yourself into a fat pig, you'll never be able to get married. Lin Yi, sitting in the front passenger seat, was furious. If he still didn't understand what Chen Yashu was up to, he'd be a fool. Buying so many ingredients, did she think she was a free cook? Damn it. How could he be wronged? A simple sniffle could be used as a handle. If word got out and his teammates heard, wouldn't they laugh their heads off? However, this matter was difficult to explain. The more he tried to explain, the worse it got. Lin Yi could only endure it. Consider it just a mission. For a paycheck that would last him a lifetime, Lin Yi felt the present was nothing. Compared to those days in the North African jungle, where even a single spider could kill a person, life was so much better now. He could go to school and even pick up girls. Oh, picking up girls didn't seem very reliable. Lin Yi looked in the rearview mirror. Chen Yashu was making faces at him from behind, so he closed his eyes and pretended not to see. Chen Yashu struggled for a long time, finally finding a few difficult expressions to annoy Lin Yi, but then he realized that Lin Da's arrow brother had actually closed his eyes. Chen Yashu was immediately furious, and in her excitement, her face twitched, and she couldn't get it back. Zia Oshu. What are you doing? What's wrong with your face? Chu Mengyao also noticed something was wrong with Chen Yashu. Oh, it's nothing. I just have a toothache. Chen Yashu held her breath. She couldn't tell Chu Mengyao about this, or she would laugh her teeth off. So it's a toothache. I saw you squeezing your eyes, and I thought you had a problem, Lin Yi interjected calmly, as revenge for her treating him like a free cook. Huh. Instead of getting angry, Chen Yushu laughed. It turned out the guy had been pretending to close his eyes, but he'd actually seen her face. All her cramping wasn't in vain. Thinking of this, Chen Yushu brightened up again. Zia Oshu, why are you smiling when you have a toothache? Chu Mengyao didn't understand what was going on, and seeing Chen Yushu baring her teeth and grinning was even more baffling. It's okay, Chen Yushu waved. By then, the car had stopped in a small alley near the school, and Chu Mengyao didn't ask any more questions. The two of them got out, one after the other. Lin Yi remained in the car, as they had agreed, and he had to avoid suspicion. Mr. Lin, shall I take you to the hospital to change the dressing? Uncle Fu said, starting the car. Change the dressing. Lin Yi then remembered that his leg injury had not healed yet. This little bit of pain was nothing to Lin Yi. If he hadn't been reminded of it deliberately, Lin Yi wouldn't have even remembered it. Okay, Lin Yi thought to himself, it seems that he will have to go to the pharmacy soon to prepare the healing medicine first, otherwise, the ordinary medicine will heal the wound too slowly. Oh, by the way, get the medicine for Yang Huaijin. The car arrived at Songjiang First People's Hospital. Uncle Fu parked the car in the parking lot, and Lin Yi went down to change the dressing by himself. When he arrived at the surgical treatment room, Lin Yi did not see the beautiful nurse Guanzin from yesterday. A middle-aged woman was working here this year. Lin Yi felt relieved immediately. Fortunately, she was not there, otherwise it would be embarrassing again. Hello, I'm here to change the dressing. Lin Yi handed the treatment sheet to the middle-aged nurse. Oh, sit over there. The middle-aged nurse glanced at the list Lin Yi handed over, then quickly prepared a dressing change and said to Lin Yi, take off your pants. Why don't you close the door? Lin Yi asked sheepishly, noticing the door to the treatment room was still open. What are you afraid of, young man? Hurry up, the middle-aged nurse said sternly. This is a hospital. Who wants to see your butt? Okay, Lin Yi was speechless. Thinking of the shy Guanzin from yesterday, this middle-aged nurse might have been a young girl back then, but time had transformed her into a tough old woman. He wondered if Guanzin would think the same way years from now. Lin Yi felt a chill and a touch of regret. To be honest, his first impression of Guanzin was not bad. However, he had to admit, this nurse's technique was much more skillful than Guanzin's. She changed Lin Yi's dressing in no time. Then he threw the replaced cotton into the trash can and said, okay. The boy has recovered well. Come again tomorrow and there will be no problem. Oh, okay, thank you. Lin Yi thanked him and walked out of the surgical treatment room quickly, thinking to himself, it's a good thing that no one passed by here. Chapter 74 The Man in the Bathroom. After leaving the hospital, Lin Yi had originally considered buying some Chinese medicine at a nearby pharmacy, but prices there were generally quite high. After some thought, Lin Yi decided against it. While he had some money and the bank card Chu Pengzhan had given him, the Chinese medicine he needed wasn't just any ordinary stuff. Many items cost tens of thousands of yuan each. Mr. Lin, Mr. Chu just called and said he wanted to take you to see him if you're free, Uncle Fu said to Lin Yi as they got in the car. Oh? Uncle Chu wants to see me? Then take me to see him. Uncle Fu, you know, I don't have much to do besides school. Lin Yi had no idea what Chu Pengzhan wanted to talk to him about. Perhaps there was some progress on the bank robbery, or perhaps it was because of the conflict with Black Panther at school yesterday. Okay, I'll contact Mr. Chu right away. Uncle Fu pulled out his phone and dialed Chu Pengzhan's number, telling him that he and Lin Yi would be there immediately. The security guard at the underground parking lot of Pengzhan Group knew Uncle Fu's Bentley, and before the car got close, the security guard opened the railing. Lin Yi did not comment on the security guard's flattering behavior. Uncle Fu's car was quite expensive, and it would take some effort to find an identical one with the same license plate to sneak in. But the guys who robbed the bank that day were obviously not ordinary characters, and there must be other people behind them. Fortunately, even if they entered the underground parking lot, the impact on the group would not be great, so Lin Yi did not say much. After getting on the elevator and arriving at the door of Chu Pengzhan's office, Uncle Fu knocked on the door and pushed it open to take a look. As the closest person to Chu Pengzhan, he could naturally come and go in Chu Pengzhan's office at will, even if there were other people inside. But after a quick glance, Uncle Fu closed the door and said to Lin Yi, who was waiting nearby, Mr. Lin, Mr. Chu is in a business meeting. Can we wait a moment? Okay, Lin Yi nodded. As the chairman of a large corporation, Chu Pengzhan couldn't possibly be sitting around waiting for him to arrive. He had plenty of things to do during this time. I'm going to the restroom. You can call if you need anything. Okay, Mr. Lin, the restroom is over there. Uncle Fu pointed in the direction opposite the chairman's office. This floor was mostly occupied by the group's senior management, each with their own restroom, so there was no need to use the public restroom. The farther away from the chairman's office the better. Lin Yi hurried toward the restroom. As he neared the door, he suddenly heard a man inside speaking in a low voice, as if on the phone. Lin Yi hadn't intended to eavesdrop, nor did he have the nasty habit of prying into other people's privacy. However, Lin Yi's hearing was so sharp that the man mentioned a name that caught his attention. I've waited so long for this opportunity. Chu Mengyao went to the bank to apply for a card. Who on earth are you looking for? How do you do things? The man seemed very annoyed and yelled at the other end of the phone, but for a fear of being overheard, he tried his best to lower his voice. If it weren't for Lin Yi's excellent hearing and the fact that he was standing at the door of the bathroom, others would not be able to hear clearly what he was saying even if they passed by. The man had mentioned the name Chu Mengyao several times before, which had already aroused Lin Yi's vigilance. When he walked to the door and heard him talking about the bank again, Lin Yi's heart suddenly trembled again. Lin Yi stood in front of the sink in the outer cubicle of the bathroom without saying a word, listening to the words of the man inside. If you can't even handle this, how can you expect me to cooperate with you? It's not a big deal. Just keep that Chu Mengyao under control for a few hours. When you're negotiating the contract with Chu Pengzhan, just hint that she's involved, and I'm sure the contract will be signed. Even if that old fox Chu Pengzhan gets pissed, he'll probably keep quiet for the sake of his precious daughter. The man was clearly furious. HMPH, there weren't any leaks this time, were there? You said you don't even know where the guys you're looking for are? Damn it, why would I cooperate with a jerk like you? The man cursed. Alright, I'll get information from the police, and you should get rid of this as soon as possible. If that doesn't work out, you know what I mean. Ring. A sudden burst of classic Apple music sounded, and the man in the bathroom stopped talking, clearly startled. However, Lin Yi was also startled. His own phone rang, and Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed he'd alerted the enemy. It was hard to hear anything more. Just as Lin Yi had imagined, the man in the restroom was frightened. The public restroom on the top floor was rarely used. The group leaders working on that floor all had their own bathrooms in their offices, so no one would use it. Only outsiders and some general staff used it, which was why he had chosen to make the call there. Most of the time, the restroom was mostly empty during the day, except for the morning and evening cleaning by the cleaners. Lin Yi pulled out his phone helplessly, saw it was Uncle Fu's number, and immediately hung up. He muttered to himself, "Mr. Who? This is Liangxia, Feng Liangxia. I'm in the top floor of Pengzhan Group, in the executive suite. I assumed you weren't the sales manager? What? On the third floor? Fine, I'll go downstairs. I just need to use the restroom. What? The upstairs is for the big bosses? Forget it, I'm not going. I'll talk downstairs." As Lin Yi spoke, he walked out of the restroom and headed towards Chu Pengzhan's office. As for Uncle Fu, seeing Lin Yi hang up the phone, he didn't think much about it. After all, Lin Yi just went to the bathroom, and seeing that he was calling, he must have called him over. The man in the bathroom heaved a sigh of relief after hearing what Lin Yi said, and muttered, "Damn, he's just a guy who came to do some business, and he scared me to death. Looking for a business manager, and he even went to the top floor to find him? A small-time manager, and he's still considered a leader? This guy is also a fool. Doesn't he know that salesmen call themselves business managers for the sake of sounding good?" Hearing Lin Yi's voice getting smaller and smaller, the man knew that Lin Yi had gone far away, and started talking on the phone again, but this time he was much more cautious, and his voice was even lower. Chapter 75 Chu Pengzhan's Analysis. Lin Yi had initially considered going into the bathroom and taking the man directly to Chu Pengzhan's office. But then he thought, those at the top of the group were either shareholders at the vice chairman level, general managers, or executive vice presidents, none of them minor figures. Putting aside the question of whether Chu Pengzhan would admit it if you were to take him to him, Lin Yi feared this man wasn't just one person, but a whole gang. Judging by the person he'd called, he had numerous accomplices. Even if you were to identify him directly, those accomplices might not be caught. Furthermore, at the vice president level and above, Chu Pengzhan couldn't handle them with just a few words. When a group grows to a certain size, it's inevitable that factions will form within it. Chu Pengzhan, being the largest shareholder, couldn't directly target the other shareholders. It was even more likely that the caller was actually one of them. So, with this in mind, Lin Yi acted decisively. To avoid alerting the suspect, he disguised himself as someone who had gone to the wrong floor on business. This way, the man in the bathroom wouldn't suspect anything. Arriving at Chu Pengzhan's office, Lin Yi noticed it was open. Uncle Fu was standing beside Chu Pengzhan, reporting something to him. Chu Pengzhan nodded repeatedly, a satisfied smile on his face. Seeing Lin Yi at the door, Chu Pengzhan smiled and looked up. "Yi, you're here. Come in and sit down, Uncle Chu." Lin Yi closed the door behind him as he entered. He wanted to discuss what he had overheard in the bathroom. "Yi, I heard you had a run-in with some gangsters yesterday," Chu Pengzhan asked directly after having Lin Yi sit on the sofa in front of his desk. Lin Yi could tell that Chu Pengzhan's tone wasn't one of accusation, but rather one of deep concern. This touched Lin Yi deeply. He was merely a paid tutor for his daughter's studies, yet he showed such concern for him. This was truly remarkable. Lin Yi was a bit puzzled, though. If it were anyone else, the first thing they'd discuss was expelling him, to avoid implicating his daughter. Yes, that guy was sent to deal with me by a classmate named Zhong Pinliang. Lin Yi didn't hide anything and told Chu Pengzhan the truth, but I imagine that Black Panther will handle this all by himself at the police station, and Zhong Pinliang won't be implicated. "Oh? Zhong Pinliang? You have a problem with him?" Chu Pengzhan was even more puzzled. Lin Yi had only been at the school for a few days. How could he have made such an enemy? It looked like the guy Zhong Pinliang had hired was a desperate criminal, even with a gun drawn. "How?" Lin Yi smiled wryly. "That's my fault too, Mr. Chu. Let me tell you." Uncle Fu saw that Lin Yi didn't mention Chu Mengyao's affairs, so he knew he meant well. However, as Chu Pengzhan's confidant, he naturally didn't hide anything from him and spoke the truth. "Oh? You know," Chu Pengzhan was stunned. He didn't expect that Uncle Fu also knew about the conflict between Lin Yi and Zhong Pinliang. "Mr. Chu, actually, the thing is this." Uncle Fu nodded with a wry smile. "The young lady just met Mr. Lin that day. She was not satisfied with Mr. Lin being her shield, so she proposed to test it. It happened that Zhong Pinliang was the young lady's suitor and had been pestering the young lady, so the young lady asked Mr. Lin to deal with Zhong Pinliang." "Okay, no need to continue, I roughly understand." Chu Pengzhan smiled bitterly and shook his head after listening to Uncle Fu's words. In the final analysis, this matter was caused by his own precious daughter. Yao likes to act up. Don't indulge her. She deserves someone to take care of her. Don't join her next time. This time, it almost got into trouble. If it weren't for your amazing skills, who knows what would have happened. Haha, Uncle Chu, I didn't take it seriously. Lin Yi was speaking the truth. He really didn't take Black Panther seriously. A small fry like him would be cannon fodder on the front lines, useless. About Zhong Pinliang, I think I need to talk to Principal Ding Bingguang. Students with this kind of character shouldn't be allowed to stay in school. Chu Pengzhan was furious with Zhong Pinliang. Mr. Chu, this Zhong Pinliang is Director Jin's nephew. Uncle Fu, who had records of these trivial matters, immediately reminded him. Oh, Chu Pengzhan frowned. He hadn't expected Zhong Pinliang to have such a connection. Although Chu Pengzhan was the chairman of Pengzhan Group and the largest shareholder, there were many other shareholders on the board. While their shares weren't as large as Chu's, they still held significant weight. Therefore, Chu Pengzhan couldn't afford to offend other directors over such trivial matters. Pengzhan Group was one of the shareholders of number 1 high school, so Director Jin naturally became one of the shareholders of number 1 high school as well. This would really put Ding Bingguang in a difficult position. Chu Pengzhan thought about it and decided that since he would graduate from high school soon, he gave up the idea of adjusting Zhong Pinliang. Uncle Chu, don't worry. I think Zhong Pinliang will behave himself in school after this incident. Lin Yi didn't take him seriously at all. Well, Yi, I'm really sorry about this. Although I'm in charge of a group, there are many things that are beyond my ability. Chu Pengzhan sighed. Uncle Chu, I was just about to tell you about this. Seeing that Chu Pengzhan had brought the conversation to the company's operations, Lin Yi didn't bother trying to find an excuse and simply said, Uncle Chu, have you figured out what happened with the bank robbery the other day? I just suspect it's unusual, but I haven't figured it out yet. Chu Pengzhan didn't hide anything. It's confirmed. Their men went after Yao. The bank robbery was just an excuse. They didn't attack Yao earlier or later, but they did it when I was out of town discussing business. This motive is really questionable, Lin Yi praised inwardly. Chu Pengzhan was indeed the helmsman of a large group. He could figure this out from these clues. It was quite good. His suspicion was almost exactly the truth. My first reaction was that someone was trying to blackmail me, but I felt something was wrong. Thinking about the other party's abnormal attitude when I went to another city to discuss business this time, I vaguely felt that the matter seemed to be related to them. Chu Pengzhan did not hide it from Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi was close to his daughter now. If he told him his suspicions, he could also make preparations in advance just in case. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.